Alrighty, welcome
So are the Colts.
to this week's episode of Talkin Athletics with MTJ. We took a week off last week. We're going to say it was for Thanksgiving, but in reality, we just couldn't get our schedules together.
Because of Thanksgiving, though.
Because, yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
And Black Friday.
I mean, Q's men's basketball was at a tournament and women's basketball was at a tournament. So I was really torn on the work schedule. So it was really hard for me to get with you guys. You guys obviously have busy schedules, but usually have afternoons open. I have mornings open. That doesn't work when we're trying to do a podcast.
Right.
Anyway, we'll get it underway. That's Joe. That's Tom. I'm your host, Mike Papa, MTJ. Just three guys. We don't claim to know more than you, and we certainly don't claim to know everything. But we do claim to know more than each other often.
All. That's great, dude. I can't
That
wait
was
to
off
clip
the
that.
hip. That
I
was
cannot
off
wait
the
to
hip,
clip that. That'll be good.
Anyway, so thank you. Now I'm all hyped, and I lost where I was. But anyways, Deshaun Jackson, longtime wide receiver, world-renowned punt returner, announced after 15 years his retirement from the NFL. I felt like this would be a good topic to start today's with because we could kind of go down memory lane. We both people on my sides here have ties specifically to Deshaun Jackson. I do not.
Yes.
So I'm kind of going to let you guys take over.
So do you want me to go first, Tom?
You can go. Yeah, you can go first.
So,
You can go first.
that lovely...
Actually, can I request that Tom goes first
I don't
just for
want it.
storyline purposes?
Listen, I'm not mad about this at all.
Because it's the same moment.
He won't be missed. The miracle at the Meadowlands can always be in the back of my mind because I don't have to worry about seeing him on Sunday and being reminded.
Tom, run me through that play.
Yes,
just
Tom.
for the people at home that might not know what we're talking about here.
To be honest, I don't even remember the specifics
Joe,
of it.
you can take it if
The
you
Giants were up big.
Yep.
And then they weren't.
And all we had to do was not punt the ball to Deshaun Jackson at the end of the game.
What'd you do, Tom?
Ironically, they brought
And we would've
Deshaun
been
Jackson
fine.
to return the punt. He
did.
wasn't
even
like punt returner for the whole game, but they knew they needed a big play at the end.
Give me a scene setter. We need to know why Joe connects to this story. Because you're a Packers fan.
I am a huge Packers fan, so let me remind everyone that the Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010, and let it be known, the Green Bay Packers were the 6th seed.
What happened in 2010? I need the whole story.
So back in 2010, the NFL was not like today. There were not 7 seeds. There were only 6, and the Packers were on the brink. They were struggling. They were in playoff contention to make the playoff contention. But in order for them to make the playoffs, the New York Giants needed to lose to the Eagles for the Packers to clinch it. So, of course, I'm watching the Packers. Packers won earlier in the day, or the game was going on at the same time. And so now we just kind of waited to see if the Packers would clinch. And like Mikey had already said earlier, the the Giants were up big, and I was just starting to go, I don't think the Packers are going to be clinching this week. This is terrible. I think the Packers are going to blow it next week. I just really need the Giants to lose, but they were up big, and then lo and behold, I flip on the channel, and the game got closer and closer. And then, as Mikey kind of alluded to, all suddenly you look out, and the Eagles stopped the Giants on 3rd down, and it was close to their end zone, so they couldn't really go for it on 4th down. So then the Giants was like, crap, we have to punt this ball. So the Eagles, needing a big play, decided to bring in
a bargain for you.
Deshaun Jackson, who wasn't even fielding punts for the whole day, but they just were like, we need a big play here at the end of the day, so why not? Let's bring Deshaun Jackson in. And then, like Tom said, the Giants probably were told, do not punt the ball to Deshaun Jackson. It almost looked like it would work, though, because
this is
when
the worst
they
thing
punted the ball.
I'd rather rewatch the play.
Wait, have you
Like,
watched,
it's just he's dragging out the part
You
where he
watched The
scores,
Office,
and
right?
Yeah.
You remember when Michael quits and he's telling everybody about it the next day, and Pam's like, it's like he knows no one's ever wanted to listen to any of his stories, so he's getting like really into it, and he takes forever. Oh my god.
So it almost worked, because when they punted the ball to Deshaun Jackson, it actually like hit him, and it kind of like fumbled it off of him, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, he bobbled it. Yeah,
he
it hit
bobbled
the ground.
it, yeah.
Even.
And
Yeah.
so I was just like, oh, again, as a Packer fan, I'm like, son of a gun, this is ruined. And then no, Deshaun Jackson grabbed it, also like took one step right, decided, I'm not gonna go there, cut left, and then just wiggled around, and then
He was gone.
That man has some wheels on him. But
Fast man.
before you know it.
He's retired.
Yeah, but
He
this
is.
was 2010. You know, this was how
That's
many
right.
years ago? It's
That's why.
2013,
That's why I said
13
had.
years ago.
That's why I said had, not has. Had, because it was in the past.
Both
And-
quality points. But
Just
pretty much
like this trauma for me in the past. In the past.
And it ultimately led the Packers to winning the Super Bowl that year because they got into the playoffs
Yep.
as a 6th seed.
Now that's where I forgot I blocked this memory from my brain, but that's where I connect to this story.
Yes.
Because in 2010, the Steelers had one of the best defenses the league has seen in a long time.
Couldn't stop a white boy wide receiver, though.
And there are...
Wow. I can't wait. That'll be a short. The Steelers had one of the best defenses. Couldn't stop that white boy wide receiver,
They could
though.
not.
Coming from Joe, the whitest
No.
of white boys,
Yeah.
over there.
A.K.A.
The
Jordy
Steelers
Nelson.
lost in the Super Bowl to the Packers. It was heartbreaking. It was luckily the only Super Bowl loss
I guess
I've
that's my
had
fault.
to see.
I'm sorry, Eli and the boys let you down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's on us.
What was your special teams?
I forgot I was connected to that. Thanks for bringing that back in, Joe.
You're welcome. It was the best
I will
year
say
of my
though,
life.
Joe, graceful winner
Yeah.
after. He was really nice and respectful about it. But thinking I just brought up one of the best defenses in history, Young Ho Koo has become statistically the greatest kicker in history, accuracy-wise.
Yes, because Justin Tucker missed a field goal.
Justin Tucker missed a field goal, dropping his field goal percentage down
To
from
89.
90% to 89.9. And
Cost
Young
me a
Ho
fantasy
Koo
point.
has a 90% make percentage now. Yeah, good luck spelling his name, dude. It is a tough one.
Yeah, gave up on that.
What are you looking up?
And I'm already really bad with
I'm
names.
pulling up his stats here. I'm just curious on
This
the
was-
overall attempts. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that's where-
Justin Tucker
longevity,
was
yeah.
way
That's why I
more.
said accuracy-wise.
yeah, no,
I
and this
definitely-
it is one of those where is it statistically accurate? Absolutely. I'm almost just even curious how many game winners is Young Ho Koo.
He's made.
And,
I know
You know,
he's made.
and
at
he's
least
made
two.
he's made a handful. I know of because I mean think about it. One of the Falcons winning and
That's what I'm
blowing
going to say.
anybody out.
His usage
Like,
rate is going to be, even though he's had a shorter career, his usage rate for his career is definitely going to be higher than Tucker's because I feel like the Falcons, his career, have been a lot worse than the Ravens have been for Tucker's career.
I don't know. Kicker's one of those weird areas that.
I guess you got to
like Harrison Butker. I bet has a ton of points from kicking, most of which probably I'm saying in the past few years. No, because I'm saying he's had a good amount of field goals in there too. But
Yeah,
he's
just
he's
that
kicked a
extra
lot of
point.
extra points too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's got a
True.
lot of extra points to field goal ratio.
Yeah.
So,
If you're kicking 4 of those a game, you're making up a field goal.
but
right
that's
there.
where obviously Atlanta not getting in the end zone
Yeah,
nearly
he's getting a lot of field
nearly as much. So you're
A good rebuttal to even what I said is that you could argue that the Falcons don't get across midfield nearly as much as the Ravens do as well. So you are getting a lot
True,
more
yeah.
field goal attempts that way, like getting like stalling out in the red zone or
But-
getting
but-
to the 40.
J-
Because Tucker's got a cannon. If you get him to the 40, even the 50,
Yeah,
something,
he'll hit
like 45,
60-yarders.
50, 45,
Maybe-
he's still flirting with a make.
maybe I'm alone here, but this is taking me a second to analyze solely on the reason. You guys ever looked up career stats for a kicker and the different statistical areas that there even are?
What,
Like
are we,
it breaks
talking
down the
about-
yardages of
Oh,
like
yeah.
50 plus. He's this much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm struggling to just find attempts at this.
I-
at
It
this
should
point
be
in
either like
time.
the first one or the last
I know
one.
Adam Vinatieri
Yeah.
is the all-time leader.
That's extra points.
Um,
Points. That's what. There's a lot
yeah.
of different stats
Well,
that they're breaking down.
Go
here,
to his
none of which-
actual stats. That's his overview. I do this all the time. I think he has like a more of a breakdown.
Gotcha. So sorry, I just googled the stats page, thinking it'd bring me up to the stats.
Yeah, right,
this is
yeah.
gonna-
The more you know.
That's still not. It's still not doing it. Yeah.
right there. Yeah, no. I guess right there. Field goals. He's 144 out of 160 for his career to get to
Tucker's
90%.
got to be like 200-300.
And that's
right.
right.
That's
But
what
I mean,
imagine.
We're talking 160 field
Yeah,
goals.
I thought Tucker was like 397 out of like 400 something.
That would make sense.
I could again, like he said, not claiming to
we're
know
we're
more
pretty
than
much
you guys.
we're pretty much comparing like a rookie's 3-point percentage to
A crafty
five-
veteran.
Well, I mean, like a
we did it
5+
last week
year
with Trevor
guy.
and Justin. We did it last week.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
similar, different
Uh,
levels of
I guess.
established.
But
Yeah, you have
Goated.
established debatably the greatest ever.
Yeah, we're talking about
Fields in.
debatably. I don't know who you putting above him.
Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah, that's a good point. Championship wise, and everyone always goes to championships.
Yeah.
And you do, and
Whether it's
I
the right
mean,
thing to do or
and
not.
I mean, think about it.
Then there's the
As
other
a
guy,
kicker-
Gudkowski, right? Steven
Oh,
Gudkowski.
yeah.
Or,
Goskowski.
He was their kicker before.
yeah, then they got Adam Vinatieri.
no.
But yeah, no, he's definitely top 3. I mean, just
Oh, yeah.
Tucker. I mean,
No,
it's
I'm
not even a
putting-
debate.
I don't think anybody would be mad at you for saying he's the
number
best.
1. Yeah.
Plus, let's be honest, it's a kicker. That's not really an
Tucker
argument you have
career
often.
attempts
So,
427.
That's
and how many
wild.
did he make? Like 397? I thought I saw like that.
Yeah.
384 of
I
those
gave him a
attempts.
little-
He's kicked almost 4 times more. And
Yeah,
he's
no,
getting compared to, like, yeah. That's why I said accuracy, because I knew Young Ho hasn't been in the league
let's
long
think
enough.
about this as well, okay? The majority of Justin Tucker's misses are from 50 plus.
Yeah.
50 plus,
Yeah.
he is 58 for 85, and a handful of those kicks, I am positive that
Are they
Young
from-
Ho Koo is not even jogging out on the field.
Look at him. Look at his then.
Does
Oh,
it
I
break
will.
down to
I'll pull it up
60 as
there.
well? Because we
No,
know Tucker's
yeah, he already have it up. You're
hit
good.
I've got
over
both.
60 before. So is it just like 50?
Well, he's
and
the-
up,
he is the
or-
longest. Yeah,
from,
it's just
from
50
50
plus.
plus.
Yeah, so a lot of those are from 60.
That's true.
Yeah, that's where. Yeah, that's
true.
where.
A lot of
some-
those misses too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's not going on the field to even attempt those, where they're sending Tucker out
Yeah, absolutely.
with a shot. But
'cause-
he,
yeah.
Young Hoku from 50 plus, he's 23 for 28.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I don't know what the career long
And here's the
is.
thing too. I bet you Justin Tucker probably is top 5, maybe even higher than that, in misses from 60 and further, and he still is the second most all time with
Long,
accuracy.
Accuracy.
His long was 54, and he hit it.
Yeah,
He's hit
Tucker's
50.
what, 64?
Well, he's hit
Yeah,
54
a 54 is a
in
jog for Tucker.
2020. He's hit it every year since the 2020 season. 54, 54, 54, 54.
Look up McPherson's long hit kicks, because that kid's got a cannon. I know that's random, but
I just gonna bounce it back to
Who's
Tucker real
that?
quick.
Evan McPherson, the Bengals
Oh,
kicker,
Bengals, yeah.
because he misses a lot, but he also hits a lot of long ones.
the only year in Justin Tucker's career
Less than 54 was what? Like his rookie?
Less than 54 is. Ooh, nope. There's one more I just saw. 2 more. So 2015 and
2015.
2019 and the current year we are in today.
he is 1 for 5 from 50 plus this year.
Sheesh.
Tucker?
Tucker.
Really?
That's a worrisome stat.
Yeah.
There's a stat you didn't know, and you still don't, because you stopped listening a while ago.
Yeah, we're like a 10-minute kicker conversation.
Justin
What a
Tucker,
br-
1 for 5
for the brand,
from 50
baby.
plus this
For the
year.
brand.
We're going deep for you, Pat. We're really deep into the brand. We're gonna get into some holding stats if they have any. I don't think they exist.
No, we had that. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that'd be
still
crazy.
having that.
Dude, should we do that? Should we start creating a holding stat? Look
They've
at every
got to.
field goal, extra point.
Would you include how many times they have the laces out?
Dude, you
Laces
could go super in depth if you had NFL Pass, like, and you really wanted to get into
Well,
it.
you would just have to watch on. Actually, no, you don't see
It'd be
every
so
single.
tiny,
No, you see
too.
every touchdown on
Red zone?
Red zone,
not
right?
every, nah.
No, they show replays.
Yeah, but you're not seeing every extra point.
Oh, that's true. Well, we need to
'Cause
start
they don't
looking at
care
his
about
long
the extra
snappers.
point.
We need to find out what the long snapper accuracy zone is, like where they're aiming, and we need to see how on par those guys are. Because if we're really going to defend Justin Tucker, we need to see how his snapper and his holder are doing.
Yeah, but I'm sure he's.
I'll
had
die
different
for this
holders
man.
We're
and
going
stuff.
really scientific into this point. We need to take away all variables. We need to find every variable and give it a number, so that way we can
We need
figure
to
out
know
what the,
who
what
develops
the
the turf
deviation
freak
is.
stadium.
That's actually a great point.
It is, yeah, 'cause
Turf,
there's a lot of-
grass,
yeah.
Offers grass, yep.
kicking gets deep, dude. Kicking
Indoors,
gets deep.
outdoors.
Yep.
I don't even think we had kicking. We had kicking on the list, but we didn't have going this in depth. On
No.
kicking.
Oh, you wanted me to look up McPherson too?
Yeah,
to see
that
what his
just
long
yeah. I'm
is?
just wondering on McPherson
Kyle?
just for the
Evan.
Evan.
Well, who's Kyle McPherson? Is that a person?
I bet there's 7 billion people. At least one person on there's got to be named Kyle
That one's for you,
McPherson.
Kyle.
Just clip that.
Fine, Kyle. We don't know him,
Yeah.
but you probably do.
Yeah, right.
Hashtag Fine Kyle.
McPherson.
Has he not missed a field goal this year yet?
McPherson?
Yeah, the tops. They say 100% field goal. I can't see if it's extra point or field goal.
Extra point. It's got to be. Yeah, he's missed a couple this year. He's 17 for 21 this year.
Okay, look.
Longs, 58, 59, and then current year 56.
And how many misses of 50 plus has he had? A lot.
He 6 in his career.
He
Last year he was 5 for 5 from 50 plus.
I take that back. Sorry, man.
But
9 for 11 his first year, 50 plus. That's crazy.
Dude, this for his rookie
This year
year.
he's 6 for 10 this year. He's struggling from 50 plus this
how
year.
many
He's
kicks
missed
did
4.
he miss last
The fact
year?
that he's had 10 opportunities already from 50 plus this year is kind of crazy.
And it's going to be more without Burrow. So
That's kind of been the
Maybe.
thing, though. For
They
them.
might not get there. They might
Yeah.
I feel like they'll get to. He might have to pull a Justin Tucker and be like, all right,
Hey, they
hit some 60s.
He did well. Their guy there did. I forgot his name. What is his name?
Browning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Browning. He
Good
did.
pull.
He
Good
didn't
pull.
look bad.
Good pull,
He
Joe.
didn't look terrible
He's
against
my fantasy
Steelers.
starting quarterback.
And the Steelers got a pretty good pass defense.
He's not bad.
Joey
He's
Porter
not
Jr.
bad, he's just
should
not
be
great.
in the running for rookie of the year defensive, but
Defensive, yeah.
He's
not
not
getting
bad.
any
He's just not
flowers.
great.
No, but I mean, they could. You can get him to the 40. He's comfortable taking that 40. He's comfortable taking wherever he sees Tucker from kick it. He's comfortable from there. We kind of just went on a tangent.
About kickers.
We're gonna bring it back home real quick and then send it back off.
I was gonna say
All in one.
I really just want to, before we move away from football, we need to
Football.
talk
We're not
about
yet.
the outlandish text message that you and I received in
Oh.
our group chats.
Oh,
on
you're talking about
Thursday.
that, okay.
Yeah, we're just cutting the other one.
Okay.
You know? Hey, we can talk about the Italian stallion another day.
No, we
you
can
know?
go
The
right-
Italian
I like this.
stallion he's a topic for another day, but I need to talk
Yeah.
about that outlandish text that we
I'm
received
all-
from
I'm
Joe.
here
What
for it.
outlandish
And-
text is that?
And it was the text, Joe, that I believe you said. I think it was even during. It wasn't even halftime yet of the game, which I still like the
I think
Lions
it
to come
was
back and
halftime.
win. It might. I think it was just before
I'm just
halftime of the
that
Packers
confident,
Lions
man.
game.
What can I say?
Where Joe says, "If we keep playing like this, or something along the lines of, if we keep doing this, the Packers will be in the playoffs, no problem." And I immediately almost threw up my Thanksgiving dinner and was like, "Holy crap! I can't believe Joe is that
I am a
bought
Packer
in
fan.
on this first
It was
half
against a good team,
performance."
though.
Yeah.
It was. It was against a good first team. But Joe, I'm gonna let you. Do you have anything further to add, or have I misquoted you in any way, shape, or
You
form?
came in hot. I
with
will
this-
admit that.
That's where it was just such an outlandish take.
So for those of you who are watching, it's really, he's making it seem way more outlandish than it actually was, because I said the reality is the Packers are the 8th seed in the NFC right now, which is a fact. And if we continue
No,
to
I
play
need.
like
I need
this,
I need the first one first. Don't go from there if you're gonna say that I'm misquoting you. I need.
that
The,
is,
The reason-
because that was you starting to bring up your defenses to me saying that was outlandish, correct?
No,
That was how
that's-
you led into it.
no, yeah, I have happiest of Thanksgiving, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, what this is, dude! You led in with defending it. That's you're wrong to begin with.
Well, because
here's-
I literally said that they're the 8th seed right now, and I said that they're going to be the 7th seed. They're going to sneak into the playoffs as a 7th seed, just like I said they would at the beginning of the year. They're one game back of both Seattle and Minnesota right now, and we play Minnesota.
Who's been looking good?
Like,
They have an
except for-
astronaut as a
They
quarterback.
didn't look
there.
great this week.
I was going to say, did you watch the game on
Yeah,
Monday?
In
They didn't look great
comparison to
Monday.
you guys, though, you
Who
guys
just
Agreed.
smacked the
Agreed.
Lions?
No,
No,
you
no,
did
no.
not smack the Lions. You did not smack. Okay, here's the thing. This is why what you said is outlandish in Tom's mind. You watched one half of football and then guaranteed a playoff spot. That is why that's a
Yes.
hot take.
Yes,
That's
you guys
why.
have not looked good
In your defense,
in weeks.
Because I
in-
said, look
in-
at the schedule.
in your defense, I was gassing you up. I was. Because I was like, yo, Jordan Love's throwing some dots out there because he looked pretty good in the first
he looked
half.
great.
But you guys, even if he played like that, the only reason you guys dominated that first half is because Jared Goff would not cover the ball. He would not. On most of those sacks, he was just freehanding it the entire time. He wouldn't bring it in. On a lot of the fumbles, when he was standing still, he had the ball in his hand. He didn't even have two hands on it when he's standing there. He kept fumbling the ball because he would not protect it. That is a big reason why he was fumbling so much, and a big reason why you guys were able to get off to a good lead. Because the second half, you barely did anything.
But all the quarterbacks we're going to go against don't handle the ball either.
Detroit, for just my point here. Detroit was a good team last year, yeah? We
Yeah.
can all say
They
that
were better last year than they were.
I mean, they
before.
were what, 1 game away from playoffs,
Yeah.
and a quality team. They didn't win on Thanksgiving last year. The
Oh,
last time
yeah.
Detroit won
they've lost
on
6 in a
Thanksgiving
row.
was 2016. That's why I also don't buy into
True.
a
Good
point.
weird performance where golf has not played great all year, I would say. I shouldn't say all year, because there's been games where he's looked really good. This was by far the worst that he's looked with all of the turnovers that he had. That was such a freakish, like, you can't count on that weekly from them.
But
To the
Tom,
point where
I don't care
I'm-
about Detroit. They're going to
But
win the
that's-
division. Like, that's fine.
So in nowhere in
That's
your,
not what he was saying.
in nowhere in your statement, I could have sworn that you said, if we keep playing like this,
Yeah.
which is referring to how you were playing against Detroit, and Detroit was not playing well, handing you all the ball game.
They handed you the
How many turnovers did you get inside of the 30-yard line? At least 2. 2 touchdowns. Did you guys win by 2 touchdowns?
and they only had 21 points going into halftime. You didn't do that
two
good,
of your
though.
2 of your 3 touchdowns were
They
given
handed
to
you the first half.
Yes, that's what we're saying, and that's when we received that text message from you. So for
I did
me,
start
I
the
was
fire, though.
I was
I
under the
started the
text
fire.
message
I'm the
of
one- I started it.
Because this thing started at like 2:52. That's almost 3 o'clock. That's probably like close to
It might have
the
been
end of the
second half. I
third.
don't remember
Yeah.
when it was. But I started the conversation because I said that Jordan Love had been looking good today. I'm almost positive I did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
okay, I thought so, yeah.
You started with saying J Love tossing some good balls today.
Yeah.
And that
Pause.
was at that was at 2:51, and then I immediately responded. Yeah.
Yeah.
no, and he didn't, and he looked good in that
He
game.
did throw. There was like
I
5 or
agree
6
with
throws that he made that I was like, those were some
That
good
first
throws.
touchdown. Oh my
Where he
Right,
threw
his-
it over like in
yeah.
front of everybody. Yeah, that was
No,
like
he
was throwing
looked a
some
lot
dots.
better than
But
I would have anticipated.
they handed you that first half.
Exactly.
What was the final? Wasn't it like 28 to 21 or something like that?
Let's see.
You scored 1 touchdown in an entire half of football because they stopped giving you the ball and took those 2 touchdowns. You guys did the exact same thing in the second half you did in the first, with the exception of you started 2 of your drives inside the 30.
Yes.
You
That
scored
was my
14
point.
points on your own.
That was where I said that is not a playoff
29-22,
team.
So we
Yeah.
won by a touchdown. Yeah, not by 2, but like you said. But I mean,
No, what?
No,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying, that you were given 2 touchdowns.
yeah, and the teams, like I said, coming up, other than the Chiefs, are probably going to be giving us touchdowns as well.
See,
Let me
I feel like
look
that's
at the
just a
schedule
tough
again.
thing to depend on,
'Cause-
especially when
Very
Jordan Love
true.
could give away a touchdown
Yes.
at any
True,
given time.
yes.
And you needed every one to beat the Lions. Lions are a really good team.
Because, like I said, so yes, they're a really good team, but can we all agree that the Giants are not a good team? The Buccaneers.
Well, yeah, you
I
guys
think
can
you're gonna
not
have
a good
problem.
team.
I think you're gonna have. I think Jordan Love's gonna have a lot of problems with that defense playing the way it is behind the Italian stallion.
With Jordan Love at quarterback, you guys could potentially win every single game left because you should. But
Yes.
with him, there's a good possibility you will not win a single game for the rest of the year.
I think we will.
You should beat the Giants, absolutely.
should definitely beat the Panthers. They have
You
one
should
win.
beat the Panthers.
should.
So there's 2.
Although, hey, relax, give them some credit. They're a playoff contending team right now. Okay,
They are. Every team's a playoff contending team. No one has.
The Panthers
been
are
eliminated.
1-10 and they're a playoff contending team.
I say the Giants team that
we
you
also
should
have the
beat.
Bears, who we've owned.
Yeah, you should.
I was
So
saying,
there's 3.
But the Bears, they're also
the
a
Bears
team
are a
just
team
like the
that,
Packers
that are looking
though.
better, and they've
They scored
looked
like
better
10
and more.
points on Monday.
They have
You guys
Fields back.
scored 14. You're on your own,
Yeah.
Joe.
That's still higher than 10.
You're right. That's the half a touchdown higher. That's 1 turnover. That means if you have 1 more turnover than the Bears, they could beat you.
We got this. Packers are sneaking in as a 7 seed. You heard
That's
it here.
right. I'm just trying to stop the delusion before it happens. You know,
You just
like
can't. Would you
what
get
is
in
this?
front of a train when it was going down the tracks? Because that's what his delusion level is right now. It is a train.
I tried. Like I
don't-
put some stuff in front of the
Yeah,
tracks, hoping they
some
would knock
sticks.
him off. You know,
I
get him to
just
realize
don't
reality.
understand.
You could very well be right, but all I'm saying is you believe a little too much. You're ignoring the red flags that your team has given you all year.
So,
But again,
Joe-
it's not about my team. It's looking at the schedule and looking
Joe,
at the
if-
teams.
It
we're
is
going
also about
against.
your team because they're
If you
50% of the
lose,
equation.
if you lose to the Giants,
Yeah.
does that completely derail your thought process? Because at that point in time,
Well, it depends.
you guys
Did-
will be
did we
equal
beat
level
Kansas City?
with the New York Giants.
If I'm any team
Like
at
the
this
Giants
point
will
in
have
the
the
season,
equal level record with you guys
Well,
and be just as much of a contender.
Well, you're skipping over Kansas City. What if we beat Kansas City by some miracle?
Yeah,
and we lose to
no,
the Giants?
that's where I was getting to
That's-
realistic. I was
you
getting to
should
realistic
just
games.
rethink about that statement.
Yes, I was getting to
That's
realistic
been every single
possibilities, Joe.
stance you've taken. Every negative we've brought up, you've completely dismissed it as being a possibility.
What was the word I
Well,
just
'cause
used?
the-
It was
the games
delusional.
have to be
That was the
played.
word.
Yes, that is very okay.
The word we used was
You know,
delusional.
I very much appreciate your
Your
sincerity in your
fandom.
team.
Everyone around
Yeah.
the country appreciates
Hey,
your fandom.
I don't believe in my team the way you believe in
No,
yours.
absolutely not.
And honestly, my team has a better
It's
record than
better.
yours.
But
Although
then-
last week,
it's hard to.
last week, how did I not write this on the rundown?
Yeah, no, it's a
the
big one.
Steelers have ended a 58-game drought, ladies and gentlemen, since November of
over
2020.
400 yards of total
Finally.
offense, right?
Here's a fun little tidbit for the Steeler fans or the Matt Canada haters at home. The last time the Steelers scored 400 yards on offense was
Gained
the
400
game
yards.
before Matt Canada was hired. The first
Nice.
game since that they have over 400 yards on offense is the game after Matt Canada gets fired. Now, as a Steeler fan, I am not the guy that's going to be like, oh, finally, Kenny's going to be able to come out into his own. He's that guy. No, I'm not. Kenny, he could be great. We haven't been able to see him, but he also could be the quarterback we've seen for the last 2 years. So, I don't know what is up with him. But I'm really excited because this past week, we actually aired out the ball more than twice. And it was fun to watch the offense. We could have lost this week.
You guys threw down the middle of the field.
We
too.
threw down the middle. We threw down the sides. Well, we throw it on the sides, but that's
You
all.
pump
But
it up.
we threw it
Pump
more
'em up.
than that.
Yeah.
But yes,
Threw
thank
'em
you. It
down
was
the
just
middle.
fun to watch.
With
And
Fairmouth back.
yes, that guy's just
See
A
my
hoss.
pin here? Just gonna
the game.
take some air out of that
Before the
balloon.
game started, I told my brother we could lose every single game for the next 10 years, and I still would be happy that we got rid of Matt Canada because I'm going to get to watch an offense try to be an offense. After
That
this
actually
week,
goes on the field. Yeah.
after this week, I still believe that. We could lose for the next 2 seasons every game, and you guys can clip this. Oh, I just cracked.
Wow.
You guys can clip this. We could lose every game for the next 2 years, and I still would be okay with it simply because I would have more fun watching an offense try to be an
Yeah,
offense.
because it's an actual entertainment.
Yeah,
That's what the
it
NFL
was
is.
so
You're
boring
watching
watching the
games
Steelers.
for entertainment.
That 11-0 start, worst 11-0 start ever. I hated watching that offense play. It was terrible until Ben started running no offense or no huddle in the second half. Once he started, the team somehow they came back and won every single time.
I just have to question this. You're hyping up the Pittsburgh offense there.
Oh, no, I'm not.
16 points were scored
Oh,
out of that many yards. You guys have scored more points in 6 games this year. Haven't gained that many yards.
That's
But
'cause
you
of our
guys scored.
defense.
Agreed. I was going to say I know there's a few pick sixes in there and things like that have definitely bolstered the score, but 16 points for that many yards to have been gained, that's
Yeah,
still
Kenny had,
scary.
I think,
That's
almost
worrisome.
300 without a TD in it. Well,
That's worrisome.
One was dropped, and I think I
Was
think
it
that
a
was
fourth
actually.
down play?
I think one was dropped and one was called back.
And Najee Harris also ran one in, so that
And Najee
takes away
Harris
from
ran one in,
Pickett,
yeah.
Because
Because Pickett had almost
Well,
300
no,
yards.
and I'm looking at the offense as a whole. Like
they
so,
both
I'm
are.
yeah, you get the one touchdown there for the running it in, but then you had what 3 more field goal drives, essentially.
Yeah,
You had 1 touchdown drive and 3 field goal drives. And then a lot of missed opportunity must be because there's a lot of yardage there that isn't accounted for. You know what I mean? Like so.
Yeah,
It's,
well, there was a
saying.
lot
so
of.
there's a lot of I don't know. I
there were like
didn't watch
5
that game super
There were like
closely.
5 and 6 out.
That's right. I didn't know if there was a lot of fourth downs that they got stuffed on. If there was a lot of turnovers that I,
No,
didn't
Kenny
hear
didn't have a
about.
turnover.
That's where I didn't.
No turnover.
There was no picks from Kenny, and I didn't remember seeing any
Kenny
fumbles.
Browning
takes care of
had
the ball.
So that's where I'm wondering
1 interception.
how does that many yards, not many turnovers, only equal 16 points is where, and I didn't watch the game, so that's where I'm.
Well, you said it's a
Just
lot
on
of 5
paper,
or
it's-
6 or 7 and outs, like where you
Get 1 first down, you only end up getting. You get like 30 yards,
Yeah.
but you're not in field
which
goal
is,
position.
which I mean is.
and then you pin them deep.
And
so
that's
you
not
try to
to-
play
well,
the
here's-
field
It's just I
position.
felt like we were gassing up a lot of like yes, the offense looks so much better, and it's like okay, 16
It is.
points
Well,
isn't.
I don't think we were gassing it because like the very beginning I said I still don't think
You
Kenny's
did.
like
You
that
did.
dude.
You
But-
did. You probably.
And I
Still
will
moving the ball.
I will
Impressive
say
fit.
in a positive note, looking at, to answer that, we shouldn't be too surprised with that because brand new offensive coordinator. So it's bound to where halfway through drives you might start to stall out because people might get confused or you might not really know what to do. Like
Yeah.
you're still still grinding with everybody. And also, I had another one but I just lost it. Play calling offensive coordinator.
Well, like I said, him trying to
I
play
can't
some
remember.
field position where you get 6 or 7 out instead of going for a 4th down. You kind of just punt it to try to pin them deep.
Yeah.
So, again, some of these like Mikey was saying, there were a
I'm sure I
couple.
remember
No, I
another
get
one.
it.
forgot.
There were a couple
I
where you're
completely
like,
get it.
oh,
There's-
you could go for it for 4th down, but when the Steelers were winning, they were like, no, we're just going to pin them, back.
Yeah, and
he
we,
did that a
I
few
think
times.
I think us three or me and you, I remember talking to at least one of you guys about it. The whole Kenny Pickett only has 4 turnovers.
Yeah,
In such and such time, but he also only has 6
Like,
touchdowns. So
yeah,
it's like
not a whole lot.
you're getting the ultimate game manager with a team with a guy that doesn't have enough around him to make him look better. I feel like is kind of the situation you're in. I mean, Pickens is fantastic.
Yeah, George
Deontay
Pickens.
can be fantastic, but they both in the past 2 weeks have shown that they're kind of complaining on the field.
My
They're not
big-
happy on the field.
My big issue with the offense is, for the longest time, I could tell you what the Steelers' offense MO was. They were a
True.
run first, and it was going to be a patient run, whether it was
Yeah,
Najee
because of
or
Le'Veon,
Le'Veon.
yeah.
It was, but even before that, it was a run.
Jerome.
Yeah, it was a
Willie
Jerome run
Parker.
down your throat. We're going to run between the tackles,
But this is where
And we're
going
gonna
to
establish
for
that.
Mikey then.
and that's where I just don't think that. You're clearly not that team anymore. Where the most success you've had running the ball is bouncing the ball outside. So running the ball inside isn't your MO.
Yeah.
Running the ball outside hasn't worked really, really well, and you're not a passing offense. Or we haven't
well,
bought into the passing
that's
offense
why
yet,
I-
is what it seems
be.
like.
We could be with this new OC though.
And
You
that's
know what
where
I mean? That's
I
where
think
you don't know.
I think that the buy-in still needs to happen. Where Kenny, I agree. Statistically, I had already admitted not watching the game, but the stats say that he threw the rock well. George Pickens had a big number game, no touchdown,
Freiermuth
but
had a good game.
receiving
huge
wise,
game.
guys, it was spread out a little bit. And that's the other thing is who's the number one when
I
it comes
think
to
it's gonna be-
receiving.
Well,
Because
Freiermuth has been
I
out.
don't know.
Freiermuth has been out, so this
Freiermuth-
was
yeah,
his first game
But
back.
then who's the 18 just got healthy recently, scored his
Deontay?
first touchdown in 2
Yeah,
years,
Deontay.
and then George is
I don't mean to be that.
begging to be a number one.
I'm not saying this to make you feel bad, but he wasn't hurt for a lot of those 2 years.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
He
He,
just
he
wasn't
played.
getting touchdowns.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I know. He just hadn't scored. Right?
Yeah.
That's where the clip was. He didn't know what to do when he got in the end zone. He was like, I forgot how to celebrate.
George
It's been
Pickens
too
knew
long.
what to do, and that was turn around and
Walk
walk
off the
away.
field.
But I'll let Joe get to his question. But that's just where I feel like there's way too many questions around the Steelers
Oh, there's
offense
so
for me to
many.
be this excited for them just because they got rid of Canada, because I didn't see much change
just-
other than the yardage game.
I completely agree with you. There's no change at all, but I just enjoyed watching a team try to be an
'Cause you
offense.
moved the ball,
That's
yeah.
been the most exciting part, is seeing the
Just knowing there's hope that
Knowing-
something different might happen.
yeah, knowing that he's gonna throw it down the field, not on the sideline, and do it more than twice is like fun. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
He's gonna do more than just slants and short curls.
It
and
opens up the
screens
playbook a little bit, you
Yeah,
know? Like
yeah.
just a little
When
bit.
you use 98% of the field, they would have known.
So my question is, because Tom was saying that maybe not really having an identity on offense. The way I look at the Steelers, I still feel like they still try to be a run-first offense, and it's just that Najee Harris isn't the greatest of running back, which has kind of led to some of your struggles. Do you have that same opinion, and do you want them to all suddenly kind of become more of a pass-first offense, which, like we've said, really has never been there for, say, really in our lives?
Thanks, Joe. So what I want to say first
Thanks
before
for the question.
start, thanks fans at home. No, I'm just kidding. That was a perfect interview question. You nailed that. Even your wordage was great. I agree. Najee Harris is not as good as anticipated. He wasn't as good as the beginning of his career. I think the injuries to his ankle have really held him down. He's not nearly. I don't know if this has to do with the injury. This might be completely separate, but he doesn't seem to play nearly as physical, as in like lowering his shoulder and taking hits straight on and trying to plow through people as he used to be, which isn't. I think he's kind of struggled with that because he's trying to be agile, but at the same time, as I previously
He's not
mentioned,
that.
he's not as agile anymore because his ankle. He kept saying it was the metal plate he would wear in his cleat all season last year.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah,
And
because
I
he hurt
forgot
his
about
toe,
that.
right?
Yeah,
It
I
was like
forgot
his
about
toe,
that.
or
I
I
was
think
it
it was like
ankle?
his foot/ankle. It was like
Okay.
I think it was like a bigger issue than what he was trying to.
letting on.
Yeah, and I think we might be starting to see that excuse was an excuse and just smoke and mirrors because I think he's just not as mobile. But I think Warren
I was
has
gonna say your
played
backup.
very good. I think he's averaging more yards per carry. He's getting more yards total.
Although
and
this
he's-
week,
I
though,
was gonna say, I thought it was flipped.
versa.
Yeah,
I
Najee
thought Warren
Harris-
didn't have a good week.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. But I also think now that's a little different because
So that's what I was looking at that as
So
some
you think
potential
it's the
Matt
number
Canada
2?
hate towards Najee, and now they were like, okay, Matt's gone. We're gonna give you the
well,
lead
Warren
spot
started
back. Well, I know Warren, but that's where I look
get
at
more touches though.
the touches. Yeah.
I mean, maybe that is. Well,
Is
I
it
mean,
like
that's
a
something.
1A, 1B kind of thing? Is that how they view both those running backs? And
I
it
mean,
doesn't
any
really
I
matter
feel like
how
any
much-
NFL team will
They
tell
might
you
now.
that's what it
Here's
is.
the thing: like you guys have brought. Sorry to cut you off. You
No,
guys
you're
have brought
good.
up questions about like who is this offense? What are they doing? I
Yeah.
don't know anymore because it's a completely different OC. So that is a great question to ask.
That's what
though.
like you're
And we
hoping,
didn't know
though?
before, that's for sure.
Will they be like an AB?
Or no, like a pass first, because like I said, all of our lives.
So yeah, to get to your other part of the question with the running and passing, I do think I know Matt Canada continued to try to have that be a run first offense. You can tell in the route trees that each wide receiver were running. They had a very limited amount of routes ran in comparison to other wide receivers and other teams. And if there was a big graphic of Pickens route trees from one game where there was like 4 or 5 just fades or streaks, and then a couple, like 1 or 2 curls, and then a couple slants, and then really short routes, like pistol type routes. And so I think he was trying to, but as you know, you did mention, not only is Najee Harris not as good as he was previously, but also this O-line isn't as good as O-lines that we've had in the past, like towards pretty much the middle third of Ben's career, where we had a really good offensive line where Le'Veon Bell was able to get a lot of space. We saw him drop off when he went to the Jets.
Yes.
Not only the Jets have a really bad line, so that hurt him, but it showed how good our line was because our line continued to be a good line for the next couple of years.
So not to put you on the spot, but
I don't know what we are offensively,
So
but I want to pass him.
I get that. So, but then in this upcoming NFL draft, is that what you want? Is improvement on the offensive line?
Yeah. Yes, for not just because of the Steelers line, but for the offensive linemen as a whole. In my opinion, and it's been one that I've vocalized before that other people have really seemed to agree with, so I'm going to come in confidently with it. My opinion, not only is the league as a whole, but specifically offensive linemen are extremely thin. There's not a lot of really good linemen. There's even fewer really, really good offensive lines. A lot of offensive lines are good by comparison right now. So if you're a team such as the Steelers that don't have the best line, I think going linemen is a good call. The only thing is linemen are thin. That's because the last 5 or 6 years we haven't been getting as many linemen as normal. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
Yeah, I'd like them to, but the Giants have been going for linemen for the last 4 seasons, and look how that's turned out. They still have one of the worst lines in the league.
I was just going to say,
So,
Tom,
you know
is
what I
there any
mean?
big lineman prospects coming up? Is it like a somewhat deep lineman draft that's coming up? Because we hear a lot about the quarterbacks. You know, obviously Caleb Williams.
I mean,
and
every
Drake.
year
Yeah, I was
it's
just about to
always
say
going to
that.
be. I mean, can you name the top linemen in the NFL right now? Name 5 top linemen in the NFL right
Kelsey, Nelson.
now. Well, the first name, I know you know Jason, but what's Nelson's first name?
David.
Like, you know what I mean?
What
Like-
is it? I don't remember.
But
Quentin.
Quentin
You have
Nelson, there you
Paya. So
Quentin Nelson, I don't think he's been playing as great
49ers
this
He's
year.
not
Williams.
this year, and
Trent
I think
Williams,
last year
Trent
too.
Williams.
Trent Williams, there you go.
He's like the best.
But that's what I'm saying. You know how
Really good.
you're
I
having
am
to dig
getting him
real
that
hard,
wall,
and
yeah.
these are Pro Bowl. These are
Yeah.
top guys, and it's hard to dig through. So I mean, it's very similar in the college
Justin
world,
Pugh,
except
Puig.
you've got way more teams, so you've got way more skill players to talk about. Where
That's just because you went. To
I don't think I
Syracuse.
could name. I don't think I could name a
But we
a
got
lineman
5.
that's coming off, but I'm sure there
Okay.
are a handful. You know, from the typical places, the Iowa, Penn States, the
I was gonna say,
Notre
is there
Dame's a
like
big lineman school.
Because we talk about tight end university.
I mean, that is
There's
Notre
a
Dame.
Lineman university.
Dude, what I find to be mind-boggling now that you bring up tight end university, because Iowa, you know, they'll say they have something. Look at George Kittle's career targets at Iowa. It was only like 40. Like,
Really?
yeah, it was something really. I'm gonna look it up now that I've thrown out an actual number, but it was really surprising how few targets that he had. But then he had a really good combine, and that helped out a lot.
Well,
but-
TJ
and
Watt
he had a really good senior year too.
TJ Watt was a lot like that too. TJ Watt only ended up playing like one of his 4 years, I think it was, at Wisconsin because he was injured the whole time. That was like a big thing on him when he came in.
You know, JJ Watt went to Central Michigan University, a MAC school, as a tight end first, right?
I didn't know
And
that.
he was he's a wet piece of paper. He's thin. You should look up those pictures.
You said JJ Watt?
Thin. Yeah.
Tom showed me last year.
Oh, I've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
He was thin.
Yeah.
All of
I
a
didn't
sudden,
know he was a tight end, though.
a year later, he shows up on Wisconsin's campus, and the dude's grown into the size of a bear, and is the meanest D end in the country. Like 2 and 2,
that's
it's just
crazy.
one of those weird situations where I
They're
don't
just
know if 2 and
athletes.
2 equals 4,
Hey,
but
he's going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
dude,
So
just the
give him some
transformation
respect.
of a body in that short of a time span is mythical. That's the word that I'm going to use to
Mythical.
describe
So
it.
there's just something about their genes, dude. There's something
was-
about those Watt
boys,
genes,
yeah.
man.
So that's where
They're
that's
just
what I mean about that
athletes.
family. They're just different.
They're so good at everything
Really?
they do.
Yeah, because isn't there a third one?
Pretty sure they got like a sister or
Yeah.
something
Oh,
that's
jeez.
a volleyball player or something. I could be off, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Crazy.
I don't care. Show me his stats. There we go. And George Kittle wore 46. That's just ugh.
Where did he go again?
Iowa.
Oh,
Iowa would have had Kittle, Hawkinson. Wow. I think there's one more. They've had like a couple more historical good ones, but
where'd Sam Laporta go?
Iowa.
Oh,
Oh,
just saying. Tom knows he's been helping out in fantasy quite a bit.
Games for these receptions.
I think like Luke Musgrave went to Iowa as well, so I think like basically all
48. 48 career receptions
That's crazy.
throughout 4 years.
how many senior year?
Senior 22.
Yeah.
There you go.
20
He
is
exploded.
20 is senior or junior year.
So, yeah, okay, so yeah, he didn't. That makes sense then that he doesn't play his first 2 years. I mean, not for it George Kittle specifically because he's obviously
because of its tight end
wild.
university, like they just.
Well, that's right. I
always
don't
have
know
good
who's
tight
Just
there.
college
I don't
in
know
general,
who was there
really.
before him, but I mean, he played in all 12 games though.
and yeah, their tight ends are a bigger part normally of
Yeah.
their team than other teams.
Well, and I don't know if he redshirted. Let me see if he redshirted. Nope.
Yeah, because then.
Look at his photo though. It's quality. It's just not how you envision long-haired George now.
No, yeah. You want to bring it back home to Syracuse?
Ooh, yes.
Talk about local
we
news.
can talk about the new hire.
Yeah.
As I say, you want to kick that off?
So after 8 seasons, Syracuse University's athletic director, Mr. Wildhack, decided to let Dino Babers go as the head football coach for the university.
Overdue.
A lot of people think that. A lot of people were
was
sad
t-
to see him go. Mixed feelings.
Told to get 7 wins.
He was told, yes.
Which-
Wildhack told him, get me 7 wins this year. If you don't, then you're done. If you're here, then you stay. And lo and behold.
Which was interesting though because they have.
They
6
fired him
now.
before. Yeah, they fired him before a chance to win.
Because
Seven.
he's... No,
7
he
regular
season
Okay.
games.
Well, that's right, but he didn't coach last game.
He got
Oh, and they
he
still
got
won.
booted when it was mathematically
Gotcha.
impossible to get
Gotcha.
7. So they brought in Fran Brown, cornerback coach for the University of Georgia.
Nice.
Very good university, obviously. Georgia's been at the top for
Like undefeated
handful-
for the last 3 years.
a handful of time now. He's very well regarded. 247 Sports had him ranked as the number 1 recruit in the nation, which has
Is it 247 or is it 24/7?
247.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not 24/7.
Yeah. The only reason I know that is because we have a lot of their guys on for guests.
Really?
Yeah.
I've my whole life I thought it
I
was
did too.
24/7 Sports,
Yeah.
and I thought that makes way more sense. Like honestly, I think they're
No.
kind of.
Right? That's
no
why
slash.
it's just 247.
I thought the slash was just like implied.
See, I did too.
I thought it was.
I'm in your camp here, Tom.
the more you know,
Learn
good
something new.
insider
But yeah, so
info.
247 Sports said he was the number 1 ranked recruiter in the nation, which has a lot of fans really excited because recruiting has been, for 90% of the last 20 years, I'd say, been a major issue. Lack of recruiting, lack of 4 or 5 stars.
And he has ties up here in the
He's-
Northeast.
yes, he does have
which-
ties.
So he's going to be recruiting and know how to get people not from the South, but actually in the Northeast to stay or go.
Which
to
has been
SU.
the stomping grounds for Syracuse recruiting for a while. Has been that tri-state, Northeast, New Jersey, New York type of area.
Try to steal some people from like Penn State.
Yeah, so a lot of people are very excited, understandably so. He's a hometown guy that is good at recruiting, which means he'll only be better. Supposed to be that way. A little bit of a rebuttal for that is he's been recruiting for Georgia,
and I heard he's stolen some people from Alabama to go to Georgia.
Yes, and if you're leaving Alabama, you're
go to Georgia,
going because you're gonna win.
Right.
So
you gotta see if he's gonna make you into a winner.
Was Georgia that cape that was driving that superhero, or was the superhero driving the cape? Is kind of the question that a lot of doubters have. So it's really interesting to have. A big question I have is who we getting for coordinators? Who we getting in the staff? Are we getting? It's a lot less jarring when you have a coach who has never coached in the head coaching position at the college level, at Division I college level. It's less jarring when you get a brand new coach when he brings in a staff that
has
a lot of experience. A lot of those staff members tend to be more mentors for those head coaches, meaning those head coaches are a little bit more willing to take in their recommendations or their opinion. They're going to listen a lot more. It always kind of calms your nerves a little bit when the guy at the helm is willing to rely on those around him instead of coming in,
Are we nervous at all that I believe he was the assistant coach to Matt Rule a few years ago,
really.
And obviously Matt kind of flamed out in the NFL.
Well, he
I know
flamed
it's
out.
It's very different. So Nick Saban flamed out in the NFL.
True.
Like,
Good,
this is
that's
a different world. Like, that's my go-to,
Well,
and
but you
this
were
is
saying-
different.
Because you were saying, like, hey, the recruiting, that's nice, but, I mean, that's the biggest difference. Nick Saban's a great recruiter in the college game.
I think it's
he
just-
can't recruit in the NFL. So.
No, I think it's a
But
different...
that helps your argument. That helps his answer to you, though. Why would him being an assistant
Matt
to
Rule-
a coach in NFL affect when he's
'Cause
supposed to
a
be
good
the
college
recruiter?
football
'Cause
coach.
I just
Matt Rule's a
feel-
good...
Yes, true.
He is turning... He's with Nebraska?
Yes.
Nebraska?
Yes.
Yeah. They've looked better this year than they have in the past probably 6-7
I feel like
seasons in 1 year. So it's a slower turnaround than you're seeing Coach Prime have down there, but Matt Rule will be a top 25
Coach
head.
Prime only got 4 wins.
Yeah, it was a tough year.
I know, but they were but they got ranked in the top 25.
They're gonna be better. Every year for
Matt
a while.
Rule is not gonna have. What I mean by that is Matt Rule is not gonna have the hype. He's not gonna have. You're not gonna see him making as many transfer portal moves. Matt Rule didn't bring luggage with him to Nebraska. That's what I mean by it's gonna take longer than
Dion.
Dion will be. Dion will be. They'll finish as a top 25 football team in 3 years if he stays. That's right. I don't know if he stays.
I think the difference, to help try to lay out what you're thinking a little bit better, Dion went to Colorado to get Colorado's name bigger. Rule went to Nebraska to try to save his coaching career. I feel like now I'm not
Dion
saying
went to
Nebraska.
Colorado to make Dion's name bigger. I think that is probably the way to look at Dion. At the end of the day,
He was doing that at where he was Jackson State, right?
and that's my point.
He was doing that at Jackson State.
Have you
though.
heard one bit about Jackson State out of his mouth? Like
No, because he does it himself, not the school. That's what I'm saying. He would have been just as big this year, in my opinion, with Jackson State as he was now. Jackson State might not have been as big as Colorado, but that's what I'm trying to argue.
TV time, and it's prime time, baby. Like he wants his face.
With
he
social
wants to be
media,
the
though,
center.
you're still gonna see all those clips.
Oh
on
yeah,
ESPN,
100%
online.
Not nearly. You're not getting games
You're not gonna
on
see him.
ESPN.
You're not getting games, though. Yeah,
you're
I'll
not
give you that.
getting the. It's a step up in terms of what Colorado could supply him with too, in terms of coverage.
Definitely
for the
made
school.
his job a lot easier to get big.
Yeah, and that's where. But when he was at Jackson State, all we heard from him was, "I'm here to rejuvenate HBCU football and bring black players back to black schools, and we're going to make HBCUs great again because none of the top prospects who are black are going to HBCUs." And he was going to be the guy to change that, and he did that with Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is clearly jumped right into a Power 5 conference and showed exactly why he was a 5-star caliber, athlete coming to college. But he went to an HBCU, and that was all Dion's pitch was for the longest time there. And then you left after, I think it was 3 years.
Sounds right.
You know, a shorter period of
remember how
time.
long it was.
Not a long enough time to even have left a legacy, in my opinion. You
Yeah.
know, where that's where I'm saying Colorado's no different. If anything, he's talked less about his loyalties to Colorado comparatively to Jackson State. So that's where I don't think he's doing anything for Colorado necessarily.
Oh,
it is
not
all for
not
him.
by his want. That's not what I was saying. He didn't go there to make Colorado bigger. I'm saying
Yes.
is the transaction happened because he knew he could get bigger, but Colorado knew they could get bigger. That wasn't. I'm just
Colorado's
with Matt
willing
Rule.
to pay. Willing
he
to
was
pay right then and there.
I'm saying it's a bad comparison between the two, like rejuvenizing.
Gotcha. I get what you're saying
That's
now.
Matt Rule just being a good coach and getting good players. Deion Sanders got players, yes, because he's probably
I'm
a
not
good
taking
coach,
away from anything
but
from
people wanted
Deion.
to play
Deion
there.
can coach. Deion, and then maybe it. And I shouldn't say can coach. He can recruit. Is really what
Yes.
it is. Deion can recruit, and that's. And
But
I
it's
do.
Deion
And I think it
Sanders,
is
you're gonna wanna fight
75%
for
of the battle, and that'll segue us back into the new coach here at Syracuse. Is
So it sounds like a
you're a
best of
recruiting
both
guy.
worlds for Fran.
Could be.
Gonna have the coaching of Rule and the recruiting of Dion.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is a different animal recruiting to Syracuse, New York. It is.
Get to play in a dome.
It is November 29th here.
Yep.
It is. I'll pull up and I'll get an actual temperature for what it is
34
outside.
out, I bet.
Not many. I'm saying not many places in the
It's like
U.S.
that
There's a
in Ohio.
lot of other USC.
It's like that Ohio. It's like that
what
in
do you think it is
Michigan.
at Georgia right now?
It's like that in Michigan.
I
agree.
agreeing
Michigan's making the
with-
playoff. It is 28 with flurries. Yesterday, it was not nice outside in terms of the snowfall and the wind gusts and everything. Like, this is not an easy place to recruit people to.
Yeah, but I'm agreeing with Mikey here.
Michigan,
Ohio
Ohio.
State, and we have a dome. They're going to play inside, so they don't have to deal with the bad weather when they're
A
going
dome
to
with
classes.
5G, baby.
And half of the time they don't go to classes; they'll take online classes.
There's two reasonings that I'll offset the differences there. Outside of special teams players, how many draft picks has Syracuse had comparatively to either one of those schools in the past 10 years?
I'm just saying that.
That's where I'm saying, and how many BCS national championships or playoff appearances?
I was simply stating the weather itself.
Well, that's where I'm just saying
It's hard to
recruiting.
recruit at Syracuse. I give that to you. But
That's
what
where
I'm
I'm
saying
saying
is
you're
the
adding-
weather specifically, it can be done.
The last time this program was good, Dwight Freeney and Donovan McNabb were on the same team playing on AstroTurf in the Dome.
Yep. And we had Marvin
That-
Harrison Jr.
yeah.
way back when too.
That team, those teams were good. We haven't been relevant since then. Unless you're counting last year when they went 5-0
Hey, we
against
had a
the
10-win
biggest
season,
joke of a
2018.
schedule and got in the top 25. Either way, every Syracuse fan knows if you get in the top 25, you won't be there for long. That's just the nature of Syracuse football since we've grown up here.
Yes, I 100%
And-
agree with that.
I think you're going to need a lot of things to happen because the biggest the biggest revenue coming in for schools is football. And I know a lot of these other schools have NIL set up in different ways. I know Syracuse has their own. I don't know how it's going to be utilized based on what I've seen on the projects there, where it seems like it is more of a from what I've seen, I feel like it's a GoFundMe-esque
Okay. Yeah.
page where it's like, hey, if you want to support SU Athletics and help us get people in and, be able to support them with the NIL money, you can donate to us here. And I'm sure that, businesses and other places, they can, do bigger events and get people to show up for those events and pay for them. But I just don't know if we have the money, especially excluding the big money that we let walk away from Syracuse organization. And I'm struggling to think of a name right now.
I always forget his name every time.
And it's
He's with Cole, or rumored to be with Colgate now, I should say.
But hey, he's the number one recruiter though. So
Adam Weitzman.
Yes,
And that's where, and
Weitzman.
if you read about
Was
anything about him now,
Weitzman?
he had a little bit of a troubled
Weitzman?
past. Weitzman.
Weitzman? Okay.
Yep, he had a little bit of a troubled past with some legal issues, but since then has been
Reformed.
clean from all bookkeeping perspectives, and has brought a lot of famous athletes, famous people to Syracuse for basketball games,
Yep.
for football games, and was going to be easily the biggest way that Syracuse was going to be able to recruit the top end talent. He publicly said, yeah, I'm willing to, help bring 5-star recruits to Syracuse here to bring winning to Syracuse. And Syracuse said, we don't want to be associated with that. So he no longer is, I believe, a season ticket holder or, has his booth. He hasn't been back since.
No.
And I don't blame him at all. And I really do think that is a decision that's going to bite Syracuse in the long run.
Very well could.
Just where I don't believe in this guy's ability to recruit here because we haven't seen anything yet.
I was going to say, but is that kind of some of the reasoning why Syracuse maybe decided to go with him strictly on the recruiting? Being that we don't really...
I mean, I'm sure that these meetings aren't, like, it's not just a job interview that you or I would go and sit down at a normal job, talk with somebody for, even an hour and them ask us a bunch of questions. These are several hours, several sessions of meetings, getting to ask about different philosophies that they have in different areas, I'm sure. And, maybe it's not as in-depth as an NFL where it is, several sessions. But you're being handed the keys to a multi-million-dollar program just because your expenses are gotta be hundreds of thousands
Tom,
every
year. What claim are you making live on this podcast?
I'm saying that hundreds of thousands of that a
Is this a financial decision?
I'm
Is that what
saying,
you're saying?
no. I'm saying a Division I football team spends hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on their travel, their equipment, their
I thought we were getting
everything.
a hot take. I was excited.
No. I'm saying that they're spending that much. So you're giving somebody the keys of this. Hey, we're about to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on your call with what you're saying here. You're about to be at the helm. You don't do that without just oh yeah, you gave us a really good hour. I liked your charisma. We're gonna give you the shot. There's a lot more that's going into it that I'm sure we can even fathom.
I can't believe.
But I hate
the good excited reaction for nothing.
Well, I just hate the idea of bringing in a big name, a powerhouse school guy that, hey, yeah, of course, not that hard to recruit to Georgia. Hey, you want to come play in the college football playoff? Come sign a scholarship with us. Well, but you don't get to say that here.
Well, but again,
you don't get to say that you're going to even get to make a bowl game on a year-to-year basis.
He has experience, so he was with Temple and Rutgers, and again, what we understand, he was able to get some people to go to Temple and Rutgers, and again, they're kind of more in the same boat, like you said, not as Georgia, but as SU. So, I mean, yeah, he probably had an easier time when he was with Georgia, but I mean, it's not like he doesn't have experience.
I feel like the last two coaches we've taken
in comparison to Georgia,
Dino, and now Fran. I think we really could be looking at this in a different way. Where
did you want like a guy with like more an actual head coach who's already had head coach experience?
Yes,
did you want like a Matt Rule or something?
No, I didn't want a Matt Rule. I wanted the Holy Cross head coach. Honestly,
I
sent Mike a video on him. The name's gonna shake me and. Honestly, if you want to go look at if you're that invested in this conversation and you want to see the video, it's Rico Knows and do Rico Knows Syracuse football. And Rico he's got a lot of insights. His betting predictions are profitable this year.
Isn't
And
Holy Cross like a smaller school?
It is.
Why can't we ever get a head coach?
But this is my thing:
at a bigger school coming down to us.
Why?
Because why would you want that?
You just answer your question within the question.
Why would you want somebody who's taking a step down?
Why would
because
anybody want to
take
a step down?
Experience and has had a bigger program.
Experience of failure.
Why would somebody who is doing well at that next level want to come back to Syracuse?
That's what I'm saying. The only way you could get one is if they did bad.
So this is where I'm looking at it, is Holy Cross has not been a traditional powerhouse football school, and they're an FCS. So they're not an FBS. They're Division I, but they're a step below.
Holy Cross.
Their quarterback this year was a finalist for the top quarterback in FCS football.
I thought you were going to say a financer.
They had a wide receiver who was up for being the top wide receiver in FCS football. And that doesn't just happen. And recruiting to Holy Cross, much more difficult than recruiting to Syracuse. So why not give this guy who's saying, hey, I've developed a program here out of nothing in a very similar area, where if you looked at Holy Cross even on the FCS level, I would have compared them to like a Syracuse, on an FBS level. So that's where he's been able to recruit the FCS kids and say, hey, come here, coach them up and turn them into winners. So I want a coach that's going to do that with an area that we know, hey, it's going to be tough to talk kids into coming here, but you've got a way higher upside now than you were able to talk kids into going to Holy Cross to play FCS football. That, and then we're talking about a head coach that can bring his quote-unquote Louis with him. Bring the luggage. Bring all of it. Like, yeah, I want that guy that was in FCS finals. We have nobody that's a quarter. We've seen what's behind Schrader, and Schrader's been an average quarterback.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Nothing. We've got a tight end that's behind him. That's our best secondary quarterback.
Hey, really good.
That
I
tight
say
end was
we,
like
and that's
30
just
for 30.
it's because
okay?
I've got a Syracuse address now, so I it's North Syracuse. But
Yeah.
it's we now. You know? I'm still a Notre Dame fan through and through. Don't get it twisted. But it's when Schrader's getting hurt. We saw the backup. Who, honestly, I thought Del Rio was going to be decent.
He wasn't.
Awful.
Yeah.
He played brutal in the appearances
bad.
that he had, to the point where we took a tight end and said, "Hey, you used to be a quarterback over at Michigan, didn't you?"
I mean, he did play
You
Division
wanna-
One.
He was rostered at Division 1.
They took him as a quarterback. They started, I believe,
Yeah.
transitioning to
They did,
tight
yeah.
end, and then
No.
he continued being a tight end.
No,
at
he
Syracuse,
transferred
no?
here. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure
He transferred
to
here
tight
to
end
try
here.
to be a tight end here.
I think he came in with the idea of being a quarterback, and I think they transferred him to a tight end. If I remember
Fair enough.
correctly.
That's right. I don't know the full
He
story
did an
yet.
interview with us like 2 weeks ago, and I'm
I know the dude looks like a
almost
tight end.
positive
Oh,
he
yeah.
talked about learning how to be tight end here. Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah,
He's a big dude.
Yeah, so that's.
But
where-
Eric Dungy was too, and he was a quarterback.
But yeah, this dude's bigger, way bigger than Dungy.
Yeah, he's pretty. He's.
I feel like
stature-wise, too.
Dungy was a little bit smaller than Schrader even.
No, I'm saying muscle wise.
Okay, that's fair.
Dungy was a pretty big dude.
I don't know if I can agree with that, but I can see where you're coming from more comparatively to Schrader and Del Rio. So I get what you're saying. But that's where
That would've been a
that's
two
the
birds,
move that I
one
wanted
stone
Syracuse to
scenario.
come is. Who does this guy? Does this guy have anybody coming with him from Georgia? Was he able to
Yeah.
talk anybody from Georgia
I
to
don't know.
come in with him to Syracuse? Look, I'm telling you right now, not anybody that was sniffing the field at Georgia. Not anybody who was sniffing the field is coming with him to Syracuse.
Well, but there's still possibly some pretty high 5-star, 4-star recruits that, like you said, aren't sniffing the field simply because of the talent they have there. I mean, the other day I didn't realize Archie Manning's already in Division 1. He's the backup in Texas. I
Yeah.
would thought that it would,
He's the third string.
so he's not even the
No.
So see what I
Yes.
mean? So he's a super high prospect. So again, there's probably
But
some
he's
people
looked.
at
I think the
Georgia-
reason he's not a starter is because he's looked tough. He hasn't been looking that good in preseason.
But again,
He got in, I think,
last week,
2 weeks
yeah.
ago, and he looked really fast. He looked
I
pretty
saw
good.
him-
They were blowing out.
I just know Archie
whoever,
was supposed to be
Texas
a
Tech.
generational quarterback, like the next one coming.
He was
down
hyped
the
up to be,
line.
but
Yeah.
everybody. He was hyped up to be by some people, but not
So
most.
So I
most
just feel
people
like
did
there's
not
some
believe he was
people,
going to be
like,
great.
in Georgia.
Everybody knew he wasn't starting this year.
Like I still feel like there's probably some people in Georgia that aren't like. Yeah,
That was a
maybe not
Carmelo
that
Anthony.
hype.
You pulled the Carmelo Anthony, but I
Yeah.
get where you're going.
Yeah, I get where you're going, but I disagree with the thought.
The
Still.
Archie Manning wasn't a good example.
Wasn't
But
a
I
good
get,
example.
I get what
I
you're
thought
saying.
he was a 5-star recruit. Is
Yeah,
he
but
not
he's just not as good
He
as
wasn't-
what he
yeah,
was
wasn't the
expected
guy.
to be.
And
That's the
then
only reason he's not starting.
Georgia quarterbacks even isn't the best place to go either. When you
Yeah.
didn't you just go Georgia
I don't
after that?
think-
Like Stetson just got canned from the NFL.
Did he even get drafted?
Yeah.
No,
it
he
was
got
like
picked up
seventh
a
round or
practice.
something.
I think he got picked up practice roster. I know he's on the practice
Who
roster
are you
for
talking about?
the old Georgia quarter.
I thought-
Exactly,
I thought he
Georgia
was on the
quarterback.
Rams.
He got released.
Did he?
Yes, he was released.
I thought they took. I thought
They drafted him, but he's saying he
drafted
thought
him.
he got released after though.
No, most definitely got released.
I thought it was some kind of reserve where he had like
He got
mental.
placed on like a mental leave and
Yeah.
then was released.
Oh, they did actually release him. Wow, I thought he was
There
just
was
sitting
something
on.
they were. It sounded
Stetson
like they
Bennett.
were covering up. It sounded like they were not covering up. They just weren't revealing the story or the reason for what they were doing.
Because I remember, because I was like, oh, what's going to happen when Stafford gets injured? And lo and behold, like 3 weeks later, Stafford got hurt. I was like, oh, yep, that tracks.
Maybe not.
Huh.
Maybe maybe he's still on that list.
Like I said, I thought he was just on that.
I
No,
think
I thought I saw that he was cutting no timetable for him to return.
whether Fran Brown is a good hire or not for Syracuse,
We're going to find out in like 2 years.
I think he is a very important hire. whether it's gonna, I think there's a good chance this kind of lays out the future for Syracuse when it comes to conference alignment.
I kind of agree with you. I'm not 100% because I feel like we've done this rodeo before with Doug Marrone where he came in and like revitalized SU and then it was like, okay, I'm going to the NFL. And then like you said, we've just been ever since then like, oh, let's get like Dino, let's try this, let's try that. It's like if he turns out to be an actual good head coach, as soon as that first contract is done and over, he's not going to renew and he's just going to leave.
I don't think we can compare it to that changing of the torch because college football as a whole is completely different now than it was then when it comes to conference with how soon they're willing to realign with how with the transfer portal.
Yes,
getting guys is completely different.
I'll give you
so,
the transfer
Well, what do you want to be, Joe? That's my question. You're saying that if somebody comes here and does well, they're gonna leave to go be hired somewhere else.
Yes,
I guess the end goal is you're in the same conference as Clemson. Somebody who is competing for a national title year in and year out in their locker room in their head.
Yes.
Why don't you want Syracuse to be an end destination? Why don't you want somebody to come and if you win a national title here?
Yeah, I would love that.
Why would you leave after winning a national title?
Because we don't, like you said, I think again
fair.
it's going.
That's my
back
question.
Because it's just going back to that where all of a sudden we get the program starting going. Like I said with Doug Marrone, all of a sudden we were looking way up, and then Doug's contract just ended. And it was like, nope, see ya, I'm gonna go to the NFL, or if it's not the NFL, they want to stay in college. It's like, nope, I'm gonna go to Texas.
Did they have good years with Marrone? That's right.
Yes. That's when the program actually started. Like since Pascaloni, like you said, that's when all of a sudden people were like, oh my goodness, hey, SU's back, baby.
If a coach was able to come to Syracuse and contend for 2 out of 3 years and then that 1 year win it, I think Syracuse still has enough respect in college, like the university as a whole, to where that coach would then be willing to stay here for his career.
I just don't know if like you said,
but that's a tall ask to make.
There's an opening, is what I'm thinking, is that for the last, I'd say, probably since Dino has been here, probably even extend that a little bit further. I would say that in the public's eye, I'm sure not financially and not monetarily, I would say basketball's the main sport. Is fandom
we're a
wise,
basketball school.
Sure, you can fit more people in the dome for the football game because you're using the whole field, but I'm saying more people were excited, more people were talking about Cuse basketball over these past few years than they have Cuse football because there's not much to talk about. So Jim Boeheim just left.
yes.
And to be honest, I don't even know the new head coach's name.
Red Autry.
That just goes to my point, though, of there's this void in SU athletics right now where there isn't a dominant coach that is a household name on either side right now, where if you start winning right now, you can build a legacy for yourself in Syracuse, New York. You can be a Jim Boeheim. You can start planting roots and actually have a Hall of Fame career, be the winningest coach in NCAA history if the NCAA didn't want to take away some wins.
Here's a stat: Jim Boeheim, only college coach in NCAA history to win 1,000 games twice.
Facts?
Yeah.
No, that's
my
100%.
go-to.
No, it's a great one. But yeah, no, so that's where I just think that you can have this be an end destination. Jim Boeheim would be my point that you can. Is it everybody's cup of tea? Hell no. Hell no. We're not in Southern California. We're not down south where, you've got nice weather the majority of the year. And basketball-wise, you're playing in winter. So your main time is here. And, hey, you don't get to go home see your family. You get to be in Syracuse, New York during your winter break. Football-wise, it's very, I would say, similar. And I think it's almost a drawback having the basketball team be the focal point of the public eye is because, a lot of guys want to go where football is the number one sport.
I don't think so. Because if your college football team is good, it doesn't matter what you were previously.
Agreed.
Your football team's gonna dominate.
If you're on the football team, you're a big man on campus pretty much wherever you go. But that's where I feel like it just differs in the Syracuse space, where I feel like the basketball players are way more hyped up than
Yeah.
I definitely agree with
football
that.
player out in public.
I definitely agree with that. But if we're a top 25 team for the next 4 years, those football players are gonna be bigger than the basketball
So I
players.
do just want to say, so
You know what I
Doug,
mean? Just because of how the fandom of college football is.
Doug Marone, I looked it up, was 25 and 25, which I know you were like, oh,
That's where I was like, I didn't think he had that great of a record.
His last
I'm sure it
couple
was
years.
trending better. Yeah, he got hired by an NFL team.
Yeah, because that was the thing. He won 4 games his first season, which obviously anytime you're coming in
gonna
first
happen.
season, like you said, always that. So he got 4, which was 1 more afterwards. Then he doubled that with 8 in 2010. Then they went 5 and 7 in 2011, so a down year. However, we actually beat number 11 West Virginia, which was a huge win because obviously
That was during a bowl game, wasn't it?
No, the 4 couldn't have been a bowl
no,
game.
yeah, because
I could have sworn that was a bowl game late at night, and West Virginia sat half their offense. I'll look it up. Joe.
No,
You
but
continue.
well, because it said the team started 5-2 with a win over number 11 West Virginia, and then after that they ended at 5 and 7, so it couldn't have
Gotcha.
been. But then in 2012, again, we were back on the up where we went 8 and 5 with a victory in the Pinstripe Bowl versus West Virginia. But then, like I
That might have
said,
been the one you're talking about.
What year?
2012.
Yeah, no, I'm 2018.
So
That was the bowl.
Oh, that was the 10 game one.
Yeah, Syracuse
season.
dominated.
so like
Virginia,
I said,
but
in
Virginia didn't play
2000,
anybody.
Eric Dungy.
2012,
Yes.
we're on the up, but again, his contract ended, and he was like, "Oh, cool, I'm getting offers from the NFL because they were seeing what I'm doing with Syracuse," and left. That's why I'm just afraid that. All of a sudden
Yeah,
he gets
okay.
traded.
But who's to blame there? Who did Syracuse try to re-sign him during the year? Like, did you try to extend the contract?
You
There's-
acted like he dominated
Yeah.
when he coached here, though. Like
No,
he had 2 above average
Yeah.
years,
And traded that
grabbed
into
the
an NFL
first-
career.
Yeah, anybody would. But that's why I said if you get like 3-4 years in the top 25 consistently, then he'll probably stay. If you can, and if you can compete for 2 of those years and maybe win a ring, I mean, this is all hypothetical.
Yeah,
I'm not
'cause
saying that it's gonna happen or
wanna
it's
know
not. But if that happens, then yeah, somebody would probably stay for a really long time.
In an ideal world, I think hindsight 2020, I think if Syracuse University could do it over again, I think they buy Dino out much earlier. I don't know when his contract was due or up or any of the contract details. But there's steps to this. Even if you're going to say that Syracuse isn't on the top rung,
Yeah, because I think we are a stepping stool.
you want to know who else
Or
is a
stepping
stepping stool
stone, I
scone
should
or a
say.
stepping stone school? Is the University of Buffalo, who had Lance Leopold there, I think 4 years ago now. I think he's been at Kansas for 4 years, and that's where he went to Kansas after that. Lance Leopold was a D2 head coach that dominated Division II, came to the University of Buffalo, turned them into a top 25 program out
Khalil
of
Mack?
nowhere. No, before. He was well after Khalil. Khalil was...
Oh, you said 4 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
never mind.
Khalil was gone.
We were
Our freshman would have been our freshman year there. But did I sit in a hot tub with
Yeah,
Khalil?
that's what I
Absolutely.
remembered
3
it.
phones, swagger.
3 phones.
But yeah, no, it was.
Yeah.
I think that even if you're saying that you're a stepping stone, which I'd put us on a Kansas tier, especially Kansas
That's fair.
Kansas 2 years ago, Kansas 5 years ago was really, really bad. Where I had to put us above them, where I think we would have been a more...
Talking about football.
Yeah, I think we would have been a more desirable destination for Leopold to say, okay, yeah, I'm going from the University of Buffalo to Syracuse. And we've seen the success that Kansas has had this year and last year.
So what you're saying is back then they should have bought out Dino and got him? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, but hindsight's 2020. I mean, I'm sure that they would have been millions of dollars to buy Dino out of
I got
this
a perfect
deal.
QBR as a
And
Monday morning quarterback.
You're banking on a guy that's, at a MAC school. So it still is a gamble. Anytime you're... Because I think Dino... I don't know where Dino was before he came. But I don't think he had head coach experience.
I think it was Bowling Green, right?
It sounds familiar.
Taking another MAC risk. So yeah, they wouldn't want to buy out a MAC coach for a MAC coach. That's probably not the best business decision to
But we're
sell to
getting
the
a
board.
Georgia coach now, so
But that's where I just think we're taking shots on. We're getting guys from. I don't like doing a bigger school, especially with the transfer portal now. It changes everything. Where if you take a guy from a Division II school that's dominating, or an FCS school that's dominating,
and take those players,
bring the guys with you. Literally
Bowling Green in Eastern Illinois.
But then wouldn't they just look at
Was he head coach?
Dion and say, well, that's what Colorado just did, and they only won 4 games?
You would say that, but I would say look at their ticket sales.
Colorado.
Look at the hype around everything, and
Well, but now
Dion,
Colorado
and
had a decommitment.
everybody else
the other
said that
day,
this is
too. So
this is a
Both quarterbacks.
well, yeah. Shador said he was staying.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure when he was sitting down with quarterbacks, he probably told them all Shavir's in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
Because he publicly said that to the media multiple times.
true.
yeah, no, and it's still going to be. I still think that if Dion stays for 2 more years, they're ending the season a top 25 program.
I agree.
I
100%.
genuinely believe that, and I think it is. This isn't something that happens overnight. Turning over, you think about it. If you got hired to coach a team, you're talking what do we say? 44 scholarship. I think it's 60, right?
I don't remember.
I can't remember how many scholarship players, but you have that many scholarship players that are on that team. They're yours. They're your responsibility now for the next, and some of them are freshmen. For the next 4 years, you can take away the scholarships, but that's a terrible look because then you're yanking scholarships away from people. And
I mean, he kicked half the team off. Day one.
Dion,
he offered transfer portal. He said, hey, I'm letting you know I'm bringing guys in.
Very friendly.
100%.
Allowed people to leave because he told them they weren't going to play.
well, but they could transfer anyway.
That's what I'm saying. He very friendly.
you
gave
still
them
have
the
to.
option
I think
to
you
leave.
still have to get approval if you're not a senior or going to switch your majors or something like that. There's something very.
Really? I thought you could just transfer anywhere you wanted now.
I think there's.
I don't know.
I think there's still rules involved with it, but I'll check on it here in a second. It still isn't. There's never going to be a. And I mean, like you said, doubled those wins. They did more than that. I think they won 1 game last year, maybe Colorado. I can't remember what their
They
record
did
was.
have
So
one.
you know what I mean? Like he doubled it already,
Okay,
and
yeah.
I mean,
They'll only get better, in my opinion, just
Yeah,
because Deion
it's-
Sanders.
Dion can recruit.
As long as he'll be there, he'll get a good team. together.
Dion's a hell of a salesman. He's been selling us on Prime
Yeah.
his whole life.
Prime time.
You know, it's just who he is.
He was prime before prime was prime.
And I mean, I've got nothing bad to say about him as a coach, and other than I don't think Shador is a top 5 college quarterback.
No.
At all right now. I feel like you could drag guys out from a few conferences
Ain't that good?
are better than him.
Yeah. Yeah, ain't that good?
So I mean, it's one of those areas where I just think if we're going to be a stepping stone school, let's start being a stepping stone school and start getting guys that are underneath us to come up. And then if you want to build us up on your way to being great, go ahead. Because then if we get
I
another
don't
guy
think
that
that'll
comes
work.
in, but if you get another guy after that comes in, you've got
It's tough to find. It's
Oh,
hard to strike gold twice in a row.
Yeah.
I agree there, but if you can do it, like I mean, I would say Ohio State with that, just being able to turn over a coach with Ryan Day. Even then, though, I don't know if Ryan Day's the guy because he's getting beat by Michigan, and that hadn't been happening for the longest time. Urban Meyer never got beat by Michigan. So it's one of those things where turning it over means a lot of different things, but getting to the next step, we need somebody to bring us up there regardless of whether or not we stay.
If I got the money, I'm not buying a beater that I got to change out every 4 years. I'm buying that nice brand new car off the lot that I know I'm going to have for a while. I'm going to have a lot of longevity on it.
What
Good
is
analogy,
what
yeah.
is your example of the beater in this situation?
Having a rent-a coach. You're suggesting like a rent-a-coach situation
That,
and
like, every
hoping
4
that
years
every
we're gonna
single
get
time
it.
it works.
That's where, and I think in any situation, I'm not saying I'm saying that you need. We're in a situation you need a rent a coach now. Where if Fran does well, I think he's buying his ticket out of here. But if the next guy can come in and continue
But if
that and stay, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think there's a way that you can get a guy to come in and stay and develop it here and win a national championship now before he leaves.
Kind of sounds like what I was saying.
No, and I agree. I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
But I think in order to compete with those schools and be on the Clemson level where you're in the same conference as them, you need somebody to get you to that next level before you can stay there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Will that guy stay? Probably not, but you need somebody else that can come in and say, hey, I see what he was doing. I'm going to build off of that instead of tearing down everything to get my guys in here and then go from there. I think you need somebody who's going to give Syracuse an identity without having the identity transfer at the end of the year. Because I would have said 2 years ago Dino was giving us an identity of defense first.
Yeah.
And then everybody left this past year. Everybody on the defensive side of the ball left. Everybody that could. And it was a great decision and from their personal perspectives, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Depending on the playing time.
Right.
You know?
That's true.
You don't know how those... I never checked in on those situations to see how, like Deuce Chestnut, he wasn't with Cuse this year. Didn't he transfer out? I don't know how much he played. He was a stud corner with us.
No, I'm pretty sure he's not even on the team he transferred to anymore. I'm pretty sure he stopped playing football.
That's craziness.
If it's the guy, I remember.
We got to fact check that.
Yeah.
'Cause that is.
One of them I know.
He was so good last year. Not this year, last year, right? He was on the team last year, and he was great.
Yeah, I can't remember who
Like
it was.
he was a lockdown corner. Like I remember watching him being like, okay, yeah, he was a sophomore last year, and locking dudes up, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is a guy that I'm going to see on Sundays. Like it didn't matter who Syracuse was playing. We were going to lose. We were going to get blown out. But Deuce was going to hold their number one, do low targets.
I don't remember. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's who it was I was thinking of. Yeah, I mean, I think you just got to find out how to strike gold once, and we just keep striking silver when it works. Every once in a while, we strike silver. We just can't strike gold.
He transferred to LSU.
And
A
is still
self-proclaimed
playing, right?
a self-proclaimed DBU.
Okay.
I was going to say LSU, so I'm a little bit more confident now.
Oh, that he's not playing?
Well, I mean, their defense was horrendous this year, so he may have just been kicked off the team for performance.
Come on, dig.
Yeah, if you go to the game log.
Dig.
He has not played since September 23rd.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is insane, dude.
That is just...
Just Google Deuce Chestnut leaves LSU. You'll probably find an article that'll actually explain it.
He had an interception against their game against Florida State. That is so mind-boggling to me.
Do you guys want to get into the basketball we have? We've been kind of rolling for quite a while now.
I do just want to...
How deep are we into this?
At 7:44.
No, like time-wise. Hey, Tom, how long we've been recording real quick?
Hour 30?
Yeah, we should probably wrap it.
I just have one
we
other
have a
thing,
lot of it that's
especially
not
since we
on,
talked
too.
about Matt Rule.
What do you want to hit on?
So the Panthers decided to fire their head coach, which is their third head coach fired in 3 years, which one of them was Matt Rule and Ron Rivera, and now Frank Wright.
Yep.
So
You nailed it, brother.
I feel bad for Bryce Young because honestly, as much as we like to pick on like Marvin Lewis and how the Cincinnati Bengals, especially with them being in your division, going 8-8 every single year, at least they had consistency. And I just already am starting to feel bad for Bryce Young because I don't know if he's going to have a whole lot of consistency if this new ownership, because I'm pretty sure the new ownership was the ones that fired all three of these head coaches. So if the new ownership isn't satisfied with the head coach, they're just going to fire him, and Bryce Young is going to just continue to get different, offensive coordinators and head coaches, which you just feel bad because I have a funny feeling his career might be
Yeah, I was talking
done and over with before it even starts.
I was talking with one of the other producers today about this, and I was like, at what point they're paying all three coaches still. I said, at what point do we stop questioning the coaches and realize that this ownership they don't know how to run a team well?
Especially when there's now reports that Frank Wright wanted Stroud.
Yeah, and they told him not to. They told him to take Bryce.
So why would you fire the head coach that actually, for the most part, scapegoat. You're not going to admit you're a bad owner. I know, but I I wouldn't have let that story leak, and I would have just been like, you were right.
Well, it's a leak. You can't really control it.
Well,
I mean,
it leaked because he got fired. I mean, if he doesn't get fired, and then it wouldn't. If I was the owner, I was like, wow, you were right. I'm going to start listening to you a little more often. I mean, I'm still in control. I'm the owner. I'm going to make the big decisions, but I respect you more because you were right, man. Look at C.J. Stroud. He is great, and man.
yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, but they obviously don't have that mindset because this is the third time they've done it in as many years. So.
Yeah, and it's just. And I'm just. Well, because now, I will say this, though. They're going to have to, unless they view Bryce Young as kind of like Tua, because that was the thing with the Dolphins is Flores did not like Tua. He did not want Tua. I believe he wanted Herbert.
Yeah.
So I bet you that's.
Which, I mean, is fair.
Which is fair, but then the Dolphins said, well, we really like Tua, so we're going to go get a head coach that is 100% going to be behind Tua, so maybe that's their mindset where they go, like, okay, we're going to go hire someone who is 100% just going to be all in on Bryce Young, and we're not going to worry about this, and then we'll have some stability like Joe is talking about for the next, like,
Did
5
you see
years.
when Mike McDaniel got kicked at their last game?
Yeah.
Did you see the clip?
Yes.
Have you seen the clip of that? Mike McDaniel, so he was on the sideline.
Oh, I did see
And
that,
someone
yeah.
got pushed.
Had to pretend it didn't hurt. It
Because
really.
they hurt like shit. I had to pretend like it didn't.
I got hit in the dick,
yeah.
and I had to pretend like it didn't hurt.
And the best part was, too, when the
I think I
guy...
was bleeding.
When he helps the guy up, he's like, you good? Meanwhile, in
The
his
guy,
head...
put some respect on Michael Mayer's name.
I wasn't sure if it was him or Crosby.
It was
I didn't see
Michael
the number.
Mayer.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Notre Dame alum. I don't know if he graduated. Notre Dame football.
Did you also see that he got so excited about the pick six that he was storming off the field and his assistant
yeah.
coach had to say, extra point, extra point, extra point. Like, what? What are you talking about?
I love that guy. He is just...
So going back just to
National
wrap us
treasure.
up on Deuce Chestnut there,
Yep.
no reason. It's very similar to the Stetson Bennett situation where he is away from the team and is labeled as inactive,
Interesting.
but no reason or official reasoning has been given. A month ago, Brian Kelly said that he'd be talking with him in the coming weeks. No update
I
has
wonder if
been
they
given
talked.
since then.
Or maybe the weeks haven't come yet.
It very well could have just been I completely forgot about. I'm in the middle of my SEC conference season, and I forgot that guy hasn't played for us for 4 weeks. I'm gonna be talking to him here in the next few weeks, and I'll let you guys know. God, I hope they don't ask me about that guy again. That's probably
we're here
exactly.
to ask about it.
That's probably exactly
here
what
we
the
are,
Yeah.
Brian.
inner monologue of Brian Kelly.
If that's
went
your
there.
real name.
It is his real name because he's terrible. He'll
Maybe it's-
lead you to around the playoffs, but then you'll get smoked. Trust me, I know.
Maybe his real name was
Did
Kelly
he come
Bryan.
from Cincinnati
People picked on him, so he changed his name and flipped him.
before Notre Dame?
Before Notre Dame, yes, yeah. That's where I was like, how are you just skipping over Notre Dame like he wasn't there for 10 years?
Probably because they're
12
forgettable.
years. What's that?
What?
I didn't hear what you said. Forgettable.
Yeah, forgettable.
So
So do you
I
have
been in
any?
a lot more big games than Syracuse football has. That is for sure.
So
never
do you
claimed
have anything
Syracuse
to add
was
about
good.
Frank Wright that Mikey and I were kind of just talking about?
My big thing
And
with
the
Frank
ownership?
Wright is that he deserves to be fired. I'm a huge Frank Wright fan. He deserves
Why
to be
does he
fired.
deserve? He wanted
His-
C.J. Stroud.
But his whole thing is that he is good with young quarterbacks.
his team is bad. Everybody.
His
Everywhere.
MO,
Pick a position.
his thing.
Bad. Pick a position, Joe.
Wide
Andrew
receiver,
Bad.
Luck,
Adam Thielen.
Bad.
Andrew
well,
Luck.
not Adam Thielen.
Carson Wentz. Explain Carson Wentz being good.
What do you mean?
Frank Wright.
Yeah,
Okay, but
he was good. With
That's what I'm
Frank
saying.
Wright.
Yeah, but you're saying he was bad in all areas. Like that, he is a
I
quarterback
never said.
guy.
Yeah.
I never said Frank
But
Reich
I
was bad.
feel
You did.
like-
You said he deserved to be fired.
I said that he deserved to be
his
fired. Yes.
team was bad. Everybody on the Panthers bad.
And I'm telling
Pick
you what
position's
he
bad.
and I'm telling you what he is good at.
Is young quarterbacks.
Is young quarterbacks.
But when you don't get
Where
the
have we
quarterback
seen
that you want, aren't you already at a disadvantage?
We're year one on the guy. You're gonna toss him just because
year
the
one.
quarterback
It wasn't
isn't playing
even
bad.
1 year. It's
No,
less than
I'm
a
saying
year.
No, yeah, I'm
weird-
saying Bryce Young. You're gonna toss him because you're not seeing what you want from Bryce Young this early, just
I'm
because
not
he's
seeing
not developing
growth.
him.
I'm not seeing the guy that I
He's
hired
got
to help my young
no
quarterback grow.
Players though.
You should still be seeing growth from Bryce Young's perspective in terms of the decision making. I've
I've truthfully never seen a coach fired because his rookie quarterback wasn't doing well 10 games into his career. I've never seen that.
I would have to look into it, but I'm betting there's a case or two.
I'm open to it, but I've never seen that.
In recent times, we should say then. Yeah, I'm
so
sure
he's
if you go
and you have
way
to look
back
at it in the
when.
perspective of he's the head coach / quarterback coach. That is what he is there to do. The head coach is always, has whether it's the offensive side, defensive side. He is a quarterback guru specialist who we have not seen any growth with from the number one quarterback drafted in this, most recent
He
draft.
also said that he didn't think Tua was good enough, or not Tua, that Bryce Young was good
That
enough.
he
He
wanted
wanted C.J. Stroud.
They were gonna move-
That's another reason to can him.
Why? Because he was right?
Because the guy he wanted is having an MVP caliber year.
When did he publicly say this?
He didn't say it. It was leaked by other people that he
Once
on
he got
draft day
fired.
wanted C.J. Stroud, but they
'Cause they
told him
wanted to
no,
move
take
back.
Bryce Young.
I was gonna say that. I mean, that's a great thing to come out after the fact, isn't it? Like, that's
it's
a
not
super
gonna come out while he's
hindsight.
there.
I'm pretty sure it was like Adam Schefter that it was
If
going
it
to
was
be like
leaked.
a 3-team trade. Like it was going to be a rare NFL 3-team trade, and that who was it? I think
I
someone
don't know who was
got
involved in it.
cold feet. I think it was the Texans that got cold feet.
Well, good for them.
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah,
panned out.
they made the right decision. But that's where I'm saying, like, I don't understand how he couldn't be blamed.
Because Mikey and I were just discussing while we were looking that up, saying it's like, for me personally, because again, the ownership, third different head coach in 3 years. If I am the ownership, I'm going, okay, yeah, because obviously as soon as he got fired, that's when it was leaked that he wanted C.J. Stroud. If that actually did happen, that he truly, really wanted him, as an owner, I would have said, hey, I'm sorry, you were right. We got Bryce Young. I'm still the owner. I'm still in control, but I will definitely start to listen about your insight a little more because you were completely right about CJ Stroud. And I'm hoping that you can turn around, Bryce Young. That's my bad, but I will start to listen to you.
Well, it's not the
more
owner.
often.
It's the GM, and that's his boss. So that's where the hierarchy of the system doesn't work. Where
Yeah, but you
he
can't
doesn't
blame
have
the
to
worker
listen
for
to
the
him.
boss's bad decision, though.
But at the same
So
time,
shouldn't the GM have been fired?
That's what I'm
and this is
saying.
where the story doesn't mesh to me because Frank just got hired this year by the Panthers. Correct? This is his first year.
Yep. Yep.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
was
yeah,
he
yeah.
was
Yeah.
hired and he was hired before the draft.
Yeah. Because he wanted CJ.
So why would they hire him knowing that they have the number 1 overall pick and he wants a different guy? That seems like a
If
dumb
you're
hire
paying a
to
guy
begin with.
millions of dollars to walk that team out every Sunday, that guy should have more of a decision on who's on that team than anybody else in that building.
Disagreed.
Okay.
The general manager, unless the head coach is also the general
Which is
manager,
Bill
because that is his
Belichick.
that is his job. You literally said the definition of his job should be the head coach's.
I didn't say should only be. I said he should have the most decision. If you're a good GM,
So his job should be to give like pointers to the head coach in your world. Like that's where I'm trying to figure out where the GM fits in this hierarchy.
no, I think
that
it's
you're
the
designing.
opposite. But there should be more. What I'm saying is if you're the coach, your opinion, your want, your desire should be brought heavily into the decision
And
making.
so no,
Especially if it's a
let me get in.
tiebreaker.
Let me get in here. With that said, this guy, your boss, that you should have influence with, I agree with completely. He should hire you knowing that, hey, we are on the same page. Does that not make sense to anybody else with me?
I
that's
totally
where-
agree with that.
This
So
is
why
just a
is that
bad
the
hire.
coach's?
This is just a terrible hire to begin with. You need to break up the relationship.
Not when it's the third coach in 3 years.
The first decision the GM made
was to hire him.
was to hire him. Second decision that he made
Was to fire him 10 weeks later.
was to draft the guy that he didn't want. Terrible.
So
right there from the beginning.
So again, you're blaming the employee for the boss's decision. He
Yes.
chose to
I'm saying the
he
boss.
chose to draft the wrong guy. He chose to draft a guy that's not as good, and that is proven. The Texans are better than the Panthers.
I'm saying your
but
mistake.
they're not that much better.
Your mistake from the Carolina Panthers perspective was made hiring Frank Reich.
No, your mistake was keeping your GM on. because the team the last 3 years has fired their coach every single year.
I agree.
And
I agree
they've drafted terrible people, and they've brought in terrible people. All the quarterbacks they've had the last 4 years have been terrible, and the players around them have been terrible.
Who fired him?
The owners.
It wasn't the general manager?
It was the owners. Ownership fired him.
Ownership fired him. So yeah, that's just a terrible mistake by ownership there.
I agree with you. That's what I'm trying to say.
But
it's not right.
What pony are you going to ride with? You just drafted this guy that you've got millions of dollars invested in as the number 1 overall draft pick, and your GM is the one that got you there. Do we throw in the towel on
your
that?
Your GM is the one that got you there. Your GM made it so your team played bad enough to get that guy.
What's more valuable? What's more valuable to you moving forward? A head coach or a number 1 overall draft pick that you've already used?
Both of them, but you know who's less invaluable than both of those? The GM. That's been terrible for at least 3 years.
While we're dragging his name through the mud, I'm going to see when he was hired.
The GM or who?
The Carolina GM.
That is a good point.
Because if
we're gonna slander him, we need to slander him correctly.
2021. So he's only been there 2 years.
So this guy hasn't had a
all
long enough
fires
time.
though. He's been there for every fire.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not saying this guy's good at his job, okay? I'm saying that this guy was hired in January of 2021. So he had last year and this year. Okay. Just like going back to Coach Prime and putting together a football roster. Okay. This is not something that happens overnight. So he hasn't had long in his job. This is a terrible situation based on, I don't know how they got hired with this big of a miscommunication.
Long, Reich had 10 games, dude. This guy's had 3 years.
And that's where I'm exactly. His job, and whose job is what? That's where it comes down to whose job is what.
Look at the roster, dude. They have one of the worst rosters in the league.
Reich's job is to develop and coach players. He is a coach.
You can't.
This guy is to put guys on the field.
You can't make poop into diamonds, brother. You can only do so much with the roster you're given.
And I'm saying 10 games in, I would have expected more growth out of Bryce Young comparatively to what we see with CJ Stroud and the growth that he's shown us over this year.
He hasn't shown growth. He's shown stability. He came out firing. He had, 2 bad games maybe?
And he's learned from his... So you're saying throughout CJ, you don't want to see CJ learning from his mistakes as the seasons have gone on?
That is quite a leap you just jumped to. I didn't say anything about CJ. I just said he's shown stability.
Which is what? Quarterback growth. I'm talking about rookie quarterback growth. CJ Stroud, a rookie quarterback, has he shown growth throughout the season? Yes or no?
He's shown stability.
So he has not. No. So you have seen no growth throughout the season. He hasn't learned from the past mistakes.
Everybody throughout a season, even if you are
clearly
bad,
not. Bryce Young hasn't. Not enough, and that's why Frank Reich got fired.
Oh my God.
That is why.
This is awesome.
That is literally my whole statement. I've ever heard you have. Frank Reich is a quarterback coach. That is what he is known for.
But he didn't get the quarterback he wanted.
How are you going to be good when you're throwing at cement walls for wide receivers?
And that's my
How are you going to do good when you have bags of water for linemen?
I don't think he was expected to win.
He obviously was because he got fired.
I don't think that was the expectation. I really think it's the lack of growth on Bryce Young's part. Where
it's 10 games, man. Yes. Peyton Manning threw the most picks ever as a rookie. And he went on to be a Hall of Famer.
Who is his coach? Did his coach get fired?
Let's see. Peyton Manning rookie year.
I'm almost positive it was what's-his-face the entire time.
Tony Dungy?
Yeah. I'm almost positive.
Tony Dungy was there for a while. Yeah, just look up.
The big reason why I'm just dumbfounded that you're blaming the coaches. Right now, it seems to me.
When did Jim Mora get fired? Tony Dungy get replaced?
I'm listening.
It's like you're trying to fix your water pipes right now with a Band-Aid, and then you're mad that the Band-Aid's not working. That's what it is to me. That's why I'm so dumbfounded.
And that's where I think you're looking at it from the wrong perspective.
And that's fine. Because I feel the same.
You guys are on the same page, just opposite pages.
Why didn't you just look up when he got fired?
I searched Tony Dungy fired Colts, and because he's an analyst now.
Why would you look up him getting fired from the Colts?
Or hired Colts, and because he's an analyst now, Tony Dungy hired.
I meant you should have just looked up the coach you already looked up when he got fired.
Yeah, fired.
Jim Mora?
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly might have run into the same issue because he was an analyst for a bit.
Oh no, I think go up to the top. Go to the. I think it has all of his teams. No, the very top.
You could
All of his
also
dates.
just look up.
2002.
So
So
he.
2002, 2000.
Yeah, so he didn't get fired.
He didn't
his
get
rookie
fired.
Did
year.
not get fired.
Oh,
there might be
what?
somebody in between.
Oh.
Hey, you know who else didn't get fired? He's a pretty good coach now because he gave Patty the chance after not working with him for a whole year almost. Not letting him play for a whole year. But I mean, he knew. Andy Reid knew he was going to go Mahomes' way though. Eventually, not a good. That was my comment.
Well, are you
episode.
saying they should have had some random quarterback in front of Bryce Young to try to get him to develop? Is that
No,
what you're
no,
trying to
no,
say?
no.
He was there for 2 years after that.
So he didn't get fired.
He did
He
not.
had 3 years with Peyton Manning.
And how did Peyton Manning do the year after his rookie year?
But that was
He got a lot better.
Yeah.
That was his first year there. So that's where.
They should have let him write it out then. That helps us.
It does. It helps your cause.
Yeah.
It does help your cause. Give me that. But I don't agree still.
I really don't, and I really think Bryce Young's
How many Panthers games have you actually watched? Because I've watched a ton of Panthers games this year.
I have not watched a lot.
I've watched a ton of Panthers
watched
games.
2.
It's the same mistakes.
But I
over
will
and
tell
over
you
again.
one thing.
Your quarterback
he was my
lined up.
fantasy quarterback, so I've been looking at his stats.
Bryce Young, and it really comes down to they made the wrong call with the draft pick there, especially if Frank. Like that's the biggest thing to me is
GM.
And that's where I don't understand how the GM hires the head coach knowing that he wants a different guy.
I agree.
I want that full story on both sides to come out of this is what he told me and this is what I told him. I want both on the record of I don't want it leaked. I want
Right.
full sources where this could just be,
That's it.
something Frank Wright said in hindsight. Would your opinion change if this comes
who
out?
Did we figure out was the GM? I already forgot.
It doesn't matter what his name is.
Hey, GM for the Panthers, right? You want to come on? We got a platform for you, boys.
Yeah.
Have a talk here.
So like it's my thing is I just genuinely don't understand how that happens where the only way that this makes sense to me is if this was a hindsight just under the table like I messed up there. We really should have went with Stroud and he like made some comment to that effect. And somebody was like, "Oh, yep, actually, Frank. Now that Frank's gone, I'll let you know. I heard him the other weeks ago. He said that he wanted Shroud. You know what I mean? Like that's the only way that I see this making sense. Where you hire a guy and then you draft a quarterback that he didn't want. Like that's the only way that those two things go hand in hand.
I think he's just a bad GM, and I think the ownership is too allied with him, and I think that showed within the last 3 seasons with as many coaches as they've had. I think their team roster ability-wise is one of, if not by far, the worst team in the league. I think the last 3 years of draft picks since he's been hired wasn't the best. Old Scotty boy. Scotty, what is it?
Fitterer?
Fitter. Yeah, so I think the last 3 years he's shown that he's not a good GM with the fact that he took a bad team and made them worse. And clearly isn't the best drafter in quarterbacks and is not willing to listen to his coaches. And I say he's not willing to listen to his coaches because this draft decision obviously isn't the only circumstance because guess who keeps getting fired when they do bad? He does. Or his coaches do.
The head coaches.
I don't care where he was.
When did Seattle get good again?
Like,
When they
you
got
mean like this
Russell
last
Wilson?
year or
No,
with the
Pete Carroll
like,
with
yeah,
Russell
the
Wilson?
Pete
with the
Carroll,
what was
Russell
it? The
Wilson?
defense, the Legion
Legion
of
of
Boom.
Boom?
Yeah.
He's been with the Seattle Seahawks as an area scout since 2001. 2011 was promoted to director of college scouting, and then in 2016 was promoted to co-director of player personnel and scouting.
So
and
not
football
GM.
operations.
So not GM.
No, but telling the GM who to draft.
But did
That
that
is,
GM
but
listen?
that and he did pretty good at that.
So what you're saying is he had the way I take that is he had a few good years and then he believed he was incredibly good at scouting. So when he hired his new coach and his new coach told him he wanted one guy, he said, "No, I know what I'm doing and I'm going Bryce Young." And that
no,
didn't
I'm
work.
thinking you're sleeping on the scouting departments in all of these areas.
So you
where
think the scouting
Can,
departments are
can I
doing bad?
just say one thing?
So
'Cause
when
this
you're
might
going into draft
solve
day-
everything.
What's
This
up? Okay.
might solve everything. So, because I found the tweet again. So Frank Wright, He wanted to draft C.J. Stroud, and it was the ownership that overruled
then
them.
yeah, so it's not the GM either.
All right, Scott, we apologize.
So
Owners, let me see them.
So the GM
And that's,
probably
part
to
of being
save
the owner,
his
dude.
own
You get to do whatever
skin
you
was
want.
like, okay, we'll take Bryce Young.
Poor Scott might be handcuffed,
Yeah,
and
no,
here I am
that's where-
inflaming the
that's
dude.
where-
I apologize, Scott. My bad.
That's why I was like, because I remembered earlier, again, a lot of it has been ownership.
Yeah.
When I've been looking online.
So
and
can we
tweets
agree
and
they should
stuff.
sell the team?
Well, they just bought the team. It's the new ownership.
I don't care.
Well, they're trying to put their stamp on it. Is really what it is. And
Well, they're
want
not doing it in a good way.
Well, instead of letting their GM do it, sounds like they're trying to put.
You
their
know what?
stamp
I
on
went.
it.
I went faux Scott. I'm pro Scott. We need to get in Scott's corner.
That's what
we need to
I
get the
really-
ownership of the
I
Panthers
want
to
to know
pull
what's
together.
going on. I really want to know what is going on behind the scenes there. Of what.
For all we know, Scott could be calling these guys up after they get fired and be like, "Guys, I'm sorry.
so sorry,
I tried to
yeah."
fight. I
Well, it's
I
just like-
promise."
I just don't want to get
But
fired
I-
either, so I give up a little resistance.
Listen,
but-
dude, I'm not going down with you, but I tried to not let you go down either.
I still stand by my statement of. And
10
that's where,
games is
So
enough.
that's where, well, especially now from the ownership point of view, they could be winning. I don't know what it is now. This owner's crazy. The owner saying, "Hey,
He's
yeah,
paid
we're
three different head
overruling
coaches
everybody."
now.
You
and-
can't. For me, you can't blame a coach when the owner tells you to draft somebody, and then the owner gets mad that the guy you didn't draft is in conversation for MVP and your guy is not. Now, I get your stance where Bryce Young, if Reich is as good as he is at developing quarterbacks, should be way better than what he's shown in terms of growth this year. Yes, but his team is so stinking bad everywhere that you can only do so much.
So-
Especially with a rookie quarterback who's never played at the pace of the NFL.
on paper, I guess, and that's where I
On
shouldn't
paper,
say
yeah.
I don't know their defensive side that well. On offense,
Not good.
They have
I
Adam
don't.
Thielen.
I don't see anybody that the Texans have who's a better target than Adam Thielen.
Well, I think CJ Stroud's just a better quarterback.
And that's where I'm saying is if you took CJ Stroud,
Okay.
do you think the Panthers are in that much better of a place?
Yeah,
Yes.
I do.
Because, like you keep
So
saying,
this
Just
is-
last
so-
week
so
we were talking
it's
about
the-
taking him over Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think.
And that's where it's. And I would agree. I think he's the better quarterback out of them both as well.
again, because like I keep saying, I would take C.J. Stroud for the remainder of the year.
So
I just
why
like
blame the
Trevor
coach?
longer.
And that's where.
maybe it's just not a good pick. That's why I'm saying it's too soon.
Well, and that's where I would love to know what the process was there because it's.
Because like
Frank
you were-
Wright's whole niche is working with young quarterbacks, and I'm sure this is what the owner had in mind. I just don't know if the owner cared enough to ask him, "Hey,
When- during the interview
do you
process?
know that I'm drafting Bryce Young? Is that a quarterback you think you can work with?" And if he stared him dead in the eye and said, "Yeah, no, I see a lot of potential in Bryce
Well,
Young,
what
and I
everybody
can
did.
work with him,"
say? You want a
Everybody did
job.
though.
then don't make promises bigger than what you can keep. And that's where, if your niche is that, I
But-
haven't seen any growth from that. When we look at CJ Stroud, and I've seen
You're acting
I've
like-
seen CJ make bad passes and then come back next week
and make the same pass.
and not make the same pass. Bryce Young, I've seen him
that's
do
what-
that
yeah.
over and over and over again, make the same terrible reads on the same zone coverages,
Well,
or the.
Do you guys think that the whole like Wonderlock test thing also
No, that
really
doesn't
affected
matter.
anything? Because
Oh,
that's,
did it affect it? You're asking?
It could have affected the owner's decision.
Maybe.
Absolutely. it
because
could
like I
have.
said, I'm seeing reports that at one point they wanted to do a
Oh my God!
trade.
Did the Panthers release the Wonderlic scores to try to make it so they could absolutely guarantee to get Bryce?
No, I think Bryce was the.
CJ was the one that did awful.
Yeah, CJ
No, that's what
did
I'm
terrible.
saying.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I guess that would make sense.
But
then.
that was
They
the thing.
get re-
Like you
I'm pretty
said,
sure
the
they get
Panthers
released
were
every
supposed
year.
to do a 3-team trade, and it ended up not being because it was supposed to be a 3-team trade between Chicago, the Panthers, and the Texans, and the Texans got cold. So that's why it only, according to the reports, again, rumors.
So
and stuff.
were the Texans trying to trade up
Yes.
My big concern with
to get CJ, or were they trying to trade up to get Bryce?
Possibly Bryce, because obviously CJ just dropped to them. So hey, if they were trading up to get CJ, then wow, good for them. They did it.
a big concern I have with what you're saying, Tom, is it seems like you're saying
That I'm expecting a coach to coach and show me his ability to coach. Yes, that is my problem.
Right?
No, I'll let you put it in your words, but that's literally, I feel like as base of a way that I can get it is this guy's a coach who specializes in one area, and we've seen no growth there.
But
And
it's only the
that's
rookie
where I
year.
could see, hey, it's time to go.
Maybe the guy's just not freaking good. If you're guaranteeing that any coach in this league, the best teams in the league, will take this guy and make him a stud. He just might not be good. The things that those passes that you keep seeing him repetitively make, guess what? I bet the coaches see it too, and the coaches are probably giving the answers of what to do in those
I'm
situations.
willing to concede that, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. That's why, why fire a guy after 10 games when the quarterback just might not be good?
I'll give you the exact reason why. Because first round, number 1 overall draft picks do not
can't
grow on
quit.
trees. I can hire a coach any year I want.
Yeah, you can hire a bad coach every year you want.
They do.
And guess what?
Yeah,
You
they
can
fire 'em.
yeah,
every
and,
team
and
does.
guess what? You can also draft a bad quarterback every single year.
The Bears and Mitchell Trubisky.
Yep.
This is how the NFL works, Mike.
You're arguing my point with saying that kind of thing, though. The Bears ruined their team because they waited way too long to move on from Trubisky, and they kept firing coaches.
So where is your?
That's exactly what they did.
So where is your proof that Frank Wright is going to right this ship next year?
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying this quarterback might not be good. We've
So-
only seen him for 10 games. It's too early to know.
I agree with that
The
completely.
team isn't going to turn around in 6 weeks.
It's
not gonna turn around in a year.
I agree with that completely. But your thing is let's change nothing and hope for the best.
I'm saying you need a new owner. I've been saying that.
The ownership is brand new, is what we're saying.
And they've already gone through more coaches than the Steelers have gone through in 60 years almost.
I'm sorry, Mike Tomlin doesn't just grow on trees either.
know, but I'm
You
saying-
gotta give
I'm
people
not-
a chance.
I'm
though.
just saying that
Frank
you could,
Wright's had
you could pick
chances.
15.
This is a known guy.
You could pick 15
Rule,
teams
I
in the
think,
league
should've
right
gotten
now
longer.
who have had less coaches in that amount in 20 years than the Panthers have had in 3 seasons.
I agree
Which is
completely.
why I'm
They're
kinda
picking
so-
bad. They might be picking bad coaches, yes. But what I'm saying is it doesn't matter if Reich's not a good coach. It doesn't matter if this quarterback's good or not. What matters is that
Well,
they're
Wright
making
being a good coach should matter in this
the o-
situation. It's his
The
job.
owner isn't a good owner. You're not going to have a good team if you have a bad owner. We've been shown that.
Washington has proven that.
You can even argue that the Cowboys haven't seen
I'd say
success
an owner
because Jerry
can ruin
Jones
you,
gets
but
too
you don't have
involved.
to have a good. You don't have to have a good owner to make you.
You can't have a bad owner though.
And that's where I would say what is a bad owner, because that's where
The Panthers owners,
And Washington.
Right now, yeah, I would say
Washington's
yes.
old
well,
owners.
old, yeah.
But that's where how long do you give an owner to turn things around?
As
and be
long
good?
as they want, because they're the owner.
Well, that's what,
Keep
that's what I'm
dumping
saying.
money on it.
So if the Panthers hire somebody next year and say 2 years from now they're in playoffs again and they become a playoff team,
They're not going to stay there.
Does the owner deserve to be fired now? Because now half of their time has been building up to becoming a playoff team.
How
again.
long are they going to be a playoff caliber team though? Because if
Say-
it's one season, then I don't
say-
care.
say they're,
you found
say
you struck
they're-
gold once.
Say they're an average football team again,
Consistently making the playoffs.
consistently in and out of playoffs. Say
Like
A
the
fringe
like the
style
Bengals
team.
way back when with Marvin Lewis, where they're
yeah,
like 8-8,
yeah. Give me
9-8,
Andy Dalton
7.
Bengals. Give me Andy Dalton Bengals.
But don't you need a head coach to be there for more than 1 year, just like the Bengals?
No,
did?
and that's what. But I'm saying,
If they
say
keep firing
the next
coaches,
guy
they're
that they
not gonna-
hire
is going to be there
is
for
the guy
7
that
years.
he's there the whole time for then. What does that? That's where I'm saying.
I don't think that'll happen.
I'm not saying that it will, but I'm saying if it does, I feel like it's still too early for the owner's career for you to be saying pull the plug on them as well.
If within the next 10 years you can give me 5 to 6 playoff berths and then fringe teams for the rest of that,
That's tough.
then yeah, I'll turn it around. I'll say yeah, they deserve
That's a
it.
tough that I feel like any organization's happy with making the playoffs half the time out of the next 10 years unless
But
you are
there's
the
teams that are
top
there
tier
every
teams
single
right.
year.
Yeah, unless you're a top tier team right now. That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like
If they can be a
there's
middle
5
of,
teams that wouldn't be okay with that.
but also
Maybe
you
6.
should be allowed to ask your ownership to be a top half of the team type of team or top half of the league type of team. You should be able to ask that of your ownership.
But that doesn't happen overnight. Like the Chiefs
It's happened
were
for
in
the
a top
Steelers for like 60
The Chiefs
years.
were in a top team for years until Patrick Mahomes got there and then things clicked with Andy Reid, right?
Well,
like
they had
but,
Alex Smith as well.
But when Alex Smith was there, they did well. They had a
they did
lot
well.
of
They were
above
in and out of
10 win
playoffs. So that's
seasons.
where
With
we're
Jamal
talking about.
Charles
We're
as
talking
well.
about a team coming
and no
from
one would bury them
coming
like
from
they buried the
Panthers.
Panthers.
So that's where we're coming from. I'm trying to figure out who's a team that's really. I would say the Jaguars are a good team to look at and shoot for in the next.
If
5 to
if
10
the
years.
Jaguars can give
They
me
just
what
happen to
they're
be in the same
giving,
division, though.
if
That's
they,
no. I'm saying if the Panthers can.
trade places and get back to where where the Jaguars are. Not now at the top of the division, but I'm saying how they've been the past 5 years, even going back to
I'm not
even
changing
going
my
back
team.
to who's the quarterback?
Outside of these last 2 years,
Leonard Fournette.
Panthers are in the NFC. I think I misspoke, right?
you did.
Yeah, AFC and NFC.
They're not.
But that's where I'm just saying, like, if you can give them that trajectory where the Jaguars were okay with Leonard Fournette, then they got rid of
Blaine
Blake,
Gabbert.
Leonard, Marone, everybody. They got rid of pretty much everybody and then built back up. They were terrible for the next few years. Made the playoffs barely last year, had a really big playoff win, and now they're going to be, contenders going into this playoff.
I mean, I don't think
So
we're
that's where
still-
I'm saying if you can
but
put them on that trajectory, it's just about, I think it's finding the right pieces that fit.
But to play devil's advocate, obviously the Jags did it in like 2 years because obviously we don't really count like the whole Urban Meyer. And last year, obviously Trevor Lawrence, that was like his second year that made
We
it.
are
But
looking
then
at
I'm
a
looking
Cleveland
at it-
Browns. We are looking at a Cleveland Browns, and if ownership doesn't sell, they're going to stay the way they are now. The Cleveland Browns have shown it over so many years. They're having the same issues the last 5-6 years that the Browns have been plagued with. Can't find a good quarterback, can't find a good coach, can't find a GM who's doing a great job.
We're just concerned for the Panthers, and we're not even Panther fans.
Like this guy, this isn't like it's not a trading card. It's an NFL football team. This is an investment.
I
that
could
you're putting
argue that
into.
with the quarterback situation you're talking about, though.
And that's where it's
You're
the owners. It's a
looking
smaller
at-
owner's investment.
You're looking at him like a player card that has a rating, and Reich isn't tapping into that potential rating. You're saying that he's a lock to be that good, and that was my biggest.
You mean Bryce Young?
Yeah,
and
Bryce Young,
I'm not
that's-
saying that's correct. I'm not
It seemed
saying
like
that.
you were relying on that very
I
heavily.
am
in the
saying that
argument.
is clearly the owner's purview.
Yeah, true.
Is how the owner is looking at it. Is Bryce Young is my guy. He's been open about that, clearly.
Yeah.
Frank Young, he's a coach that works with
Frank
young
Wright.
quarterbacks. It seems like a fit that's made in heaven from his perspective, and he's got the money. And if Frank Reich says that he's willing to work with this guy, and he accepted the job, so that's where if this was all on the table before Frank accepted the job, and what the expectations were, and if they were the expectations that I had for Frank Reich just to show some sort of life with Bryce Young, they hadn't been met.
But doesn't
and
he
that's where
have
I see that, I could see how this owner's like, yeah, I'm done with this. We need to
Shouldn't he
move
have
on to the next
benefit
guy.
of the doubt,
Because
though?
Yes.
Because-
when's the next time you're going to have so the other option that you have here,
Because you named off a
Is that
bunch
mean
of
you could write it
quarterbacks
out?
that he helped.
you can write it out.
Because going back to the Bears,
Yeah, the
with
one
Mitchell
time it didn't
Trubisky-
work, he gets canned.
Well, and
The one time it doesn't
let
work.
me finish
and that's
real
where
quick.
I think there's problems with Frank Wright too, because you got to look at what happened in Indianapolis. He only was there for a year as well, so there's got to be something that's not brushing well with
that
him
team
in
was
ownership.
also not
Because
best.
the only thing
But
when
they're
we were
better.
talking about the
They were
Bears
better.
and stuff with Mitchell Trubisky and Matt Nagy came from the Kansas City and had
No, well, I thought Nagy was a Bill Belichick guy.
I don't remember. Are we talking about Nagy going to the Bears?
yeah.
What
where did he come
what
from?
line did he come from? I'm pretty sure he was a Belichick guy, wasn't he?
What's his first name?
Matt.
But go on anyway.
Because I could have.
He came from a good line of pedigree coaches.
Yeah, and I just thought that he also had a good quarterback, and then also
Oh no, you were right, Kansas City.
Kansas City
He's
with
back
Patrick
in- he's-
Mahomes
he's
and
back
Alex
in
Smith.
Kansas City.
Yeah, he was with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. So then when they had Mitchell Trubisky, like you were saying, Mikey, they were expecting to fix him. But that's the thing. It's one thing when you're the head coach of or a big coordinator with an Alex Smith or a Patrick Mahomes, and then all of a
No,
sudden
but I think that goes to prove a
going to
point. Is
Mitchell Trubisky.
Alex Smith dominated that. Like it's about finding the pieces that are going to work together, and those pieces just didn't work. Where Alex Smith,
He didn't have those
Alex
pieces.
Smith left Matt Nagy and did okay, but was way better with Matt Nagy, right?
Well, when you're saying
When did he
same
get
thing
hired?
with Matt Nagy with Alex Smith.
2016. And he was with.
When was he there
Alex
the first
Smith
time?
and
2012.
Patrick Mahomes, right? Wasn't he with both of
Let me
them?
look up the first time he was there.
Yeah, he was with both of them.
Because I'm just saying, because you were saying the Bears ruined because they kept waiting for so long, and I just feel like, especially because Carson Wentz's best years was with Frank Wright, that it's like he has more of a track record and should be given a benefit of the doubt because of everyone that you named, where all of those were kind of like, good to average quarterbacks that were solid starters versus having a generational quarterback in Patrick Mahomes.
And let's be honest too, Reich is within 2 to 3 games of what I think we all expected this team to be.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
He was handed a very, very tough team to win with.
Every single one of us picked them to be last, right?
Yes.
Sure.
Debatably the worst in the league before the season started. Sure enough, are the worst in the league. He's doing what everybody expected this roster to do, and he's getting blamed for it after only 10 games.
Early in the offseason, Adam Thielen thought they could possibly make the Super Bowl, which I was just like,
oh, yeah.
buddy.
You got to say that, though.
Yeah, you do.
It's just tough. It's only after. I just can't do it after only 10 games. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't. But also, I just think the owners are bad. I think you're right. They've only been owners for a handful of years, but guess what? They've made the wrong decision or a bad decision at every single possible chance they could have. They've had the most quarterbacks.
There's some good moves. Getting Thielen, I think Thielen's he was super undervalued with Minnesota.
Well, that one move, though.
And again, it was
Miles Sanders, like that's where there was bigger expectations.
Miles Sanders.
There's bigger expectations for the team. Miles Sanders had a very good year with Philadelphia last year.
Yeah, and he's done nothing.
Absolutely. And
Hubbard is now the starter.
I was big on that as well because I think Jalen Hurts being a running threat out of the backfield added another level and helped Miles Sanders be a lot better.
And everybody knew Miles Sanders was by far
a byproduct of the Eagles' offense.
Yes. No, I agree.
I don't think anybody expected him to go. I didn't expect him to go to the Panthers and pop off.
But when was the last time that a Panthers had a running back of note?
A year before that, CMC.
Yeah.
Okay.
They also had Jonathan Stewart.
What did they get back out of the CMC deal?
Huh?
What did they get out of the CMC deal?
I don't remember.
Apparently not enough because
they've had
killing it with the 49ers.
And then before that, Chris John. No, he's Titans. Never mind.
What's the other? D'Angelo something.
D'Angelo Hall.
Yep.
No, yeah, Hall.
Or D'Angelo Williams.
Williams, because he went to the Steelers after. It was D'Angelo Williams.
Yeah, and he was with Jonathan Stewart. Oh, and they had Mike Tolbert as well. They've had some good running backs. He was like a fullback running back.
They drafted Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be. I always get him in.
But then they went and got Miles Sanders, and then, like I said, he just decided like, no, Hubbard's the starter, and they paying all that money to Miles Sanders.
I like how we were talking about wrapping this up a half an hour ago. It feels like.
Well, because I just, like I said, we had mentioned Matt Rule, and then
I'm saying we went off.
I was like, I want to obviously talk about the Panthers because we name dropped, and obviously Matt Rule was one of the 3 coaches that have been fired in the last 3 years by the Panthers ownership, which is just, like I said, absurd. How can you have 3 straight years of
and how many quarterbacks have they had the last 3 years? 6.
Oh, dude. Well, hey, but to Tom's point, they are being consistent. Bryce Young's gonna be the quarterback.
Yeah. They found their guy, Tom.
Yeah,
is it the right guy? Doesn't look like it, but they found him.
I don't think it is, but like you were saying, it's too early to tell because he's got poop everywhere around him.
So why blame the coach
Adam
then?
Thielen.
He's got poop around him. Why blame the coach?
Because the one thing that I can look at and say, hey, this guy should have some effect on, I'm not seeing. That's where I get to my logic of is you keep asking me why. I've given you my why.
But
you can't find one, and I've found one. This is my why.
I can definitely find a why.
I
have my own why.
They're
I have
not
a
winning,
plethora.
But
no, why is because they have
they've
not made good picks with their draft picks, and their ownership has fired everybody before they could develop a culture. They are a rotating door of players at the helm position when it comes to QB. Their OCs, DCs are getting tossed around. There's no culture with the Panthers right now.
I agree.
You cannot expect, no matter how good of a coach somebody
so
is,
why would you,
that they're the quarterback to do well.
Why wouldn't you want a coach that has proven that he can come in and bring a culture? Because Frank Reich...
said, why would you?
Why wouldn't you want somebody... Frank Reich has never been a guy that's brought in culture. He's been an assistant coach everywhere except for Indianapolis.
He's been an assistant. Could bring a culture.
But that's what I'm saying is this isn't... If you're looking for a guy that's going to be, hey, I am the captain. You are looking to me. I am the voice of the locker room. Frank has never been that guy. He's only been
a coach once on another bad team. So you're saying he can't bring culture?
They were pretty good with Indianapolis there for the 1 year.
Well, wasn't he the interim for like half the season?
I thought that was when like Chuck Pagano got
he came in
or something.
February of 2018. No, that was Saturday. People were not happy about Saturday being interim head coach.
No, Saturday was interim when they fired Reich. I thought Reich was interim when
Chuck Pagano got.
Yeah, when Chuck Pagano was sick.
February 11th, 2018, he was named the head coach. It was 7 years after he was fired as a wide receiver coach for Indianapolis.
Oh, well, Indianapolis.
Full circle moment.
Yeah.
If you're gonna mess up,
Well,
might
I
as well
thought he
mess
was
up
a
twice.
quarterback guru. What's he doing
in
with them
week-
wide
in-
receivers?
The big move for him was in week 3. He pulled Andrew Luck to put Brissett in the game for a Hail Mary pass.
Understandable.
Wow, yeah.
Because
Brissett's got a cannon.
He had the stronger arm.
Brissett's got a cannon.
Where is Brissett?
After a 1
I
and
have no
5
idea.
start, Reich led the Colts to a 10-6 record, winning
Yes.
9 of their last 10.
Look at that. I no say that's a winning culture to me.
But that's what I'm saying. He a 1 and 5 start, and the Colts weren't great. But I mean, you had Andrew Luck.
So okay, so that helps us even more.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
you look at
wasn't
the man's
great.
record.
They wrote him out.
Yeah. Yeah, he started off really tough, really bad, and then turned it around.
1 and 5, yeah, in the first season.
Yes.
Oh, he was one.
This
and
is
five.
his
He
first
was
season.
one. He was 1 and
You,
5.
you,
and
yeah, but
then
you can say that
wound
Colts
up-
team is much, much, much better than this Panthers roster.
I mean, that's where I wonder how young. That's where I need to know how old Andrew Luck was.
It doesn't matter. He was still considered a top 5 quarterback his entire career, and he retired
Rookie year?
early.
I remember him having a good rookie year, but I'm not putting him top 5. Like you
Okay.
got Tom
Okay,
Payton.
I'm
and
sorry.
guys.
Outside of his rookie year, he was a top 5 guy.
I don't
And
even know
just
if you can say
okay,
that.
just say
Like,
top 10.
everyone
then
else did.
even.
top 10. Yeah, top 10.
Because Bryce Young is definitely not a
Yeah,
top
Bryce
10.
Young
How
is not a
about
top
that?
10 guy right now.
Yeah, 100% there.
You're losing your mic, buddy.
It's running away. Gosh, what a debate. What a debate we got into.
I am glad I said let's.
Yeah, right? You opened her back up.
Yeah. It's gonna be a long podcast. To watch.
Then he had the wheel of quarterbacks in Indianapolis.
Oh,
with-
like Phillip Rivers.
But then he had his dude. He got to handpick Carson Wentz, and that didn't work out. Injuries and bad play. And that's where, yeah, like he did get to choose Carson Wentz. That was
Okay.
a guy that he had worked with in Philly. He wanted
And he
Carson
was good
Wentz.
in Philly.
Went out and got him.
Yeah, you can't
And
blame
then
that
they didn't
regression
do-
on
they
him.
didn't do-
Yeah, you really
They
can't.
didn't do that good.
That's a Wentz just
But I
progressing.
mean, that was after
or
Luck
regression.
stepped away.
Yeah, so you
And
kind
then
of
they
like,
asked
what do
him.
we got to do?
But then they asked him to play GM. So that's where maybe if the ownership was like, hey, who does he want? Oh, he wants CJ. We're taking Bryce.
We're definitely
We're
taking Bryce.
definitely taking Bryce. I saw this Carson Wentz thing play out once in the past. Bryce Young.
He had no options during the offseason, but it didn't work. So he obviously doesn't know what he's talking
He
about.
literally had only one choice.
He had his choice from all the NFL free agents,
Yeah.
and he chose that guy.
All 6 of them. So we all can agree that Reich probably not the right hire. Ownership not off to
Well,
a
dude,
good
it's just
start.
a terrible marriage.
Yeah.
Just an awful marriage. Like
Wrong on
in
all
what way
accord.
do you have the number 1 draft pick and you're hiring a new coach and you don't get to take his
Don't forget,
input
they
of
had to
what he
trade for the number 1 pick. Remember, the Bears was the first overall pick. They traded for the first
That's
overall
true.
pick. Which, again, is why I keep stressing that it
That's
was going to
true.
be a 3-way trade and they were going to move back. That's why it's always just because your marriage thing might have actually been correct if they actually, the Texans didn't get cold feet.
I agree.
So, but you never know, because again, it could have been a leak, like you said, of just passing by, of like,
But even
oh,
that, like that's
And
when
it might have been even something he didn't even mention.
That's
to
what
him.
I hate too. Is like I can only imagine drafting. People like
Yeah,
being
I
like, oh yeah,
know.
you're gonna be. I don't know what this. Magic 8 Ball. What is this guy gonna do in the next 5 years? Like, it's craziness. And to the fact of like, if this was their guy, if CJ was their guy and they were trying to trade back for him, and they were gonna sit for CJ.
But then all of a sudden you
Why
have the first
not
overall
take
pick. and you're
why
just-
not take CJ with the number 1 unless you're, and that's where when
the
we were
Wonder
getting
Look
into
score,
like,
and you're like,
well, and that's where I think we're putting a lot on the Wonderlic where maybe it had some impact. There are so many people, so much money is going out for yearly salaries to the scouts, to the people that are doing the college scouting for the college players.
right.
If you are just like, oh yeah, hey, I was watching the game this weekend, and man, did I love the way that CJ played, that last weekend, playoff weekend. He's my guy. Or say opposite, Bryce Young, and then you go to sit down at the table with the guys that you were paying a salary to help you make that decision, and you're like, guys, I got this one. This is a me decision based on what I have decided. I know I pay you to do this job,
But that takes you almost to a Moneyball situation of, hey, at what point does something change and we say, hey, you guys, you're meaningless now. We're looking at the numbers. We're looking at this. We're looking at that. It's those kind of decisions that go into this where I would have loved to have been, knowing what we know now, would have loved to have gone back and been a fly on their draft wall or the weeks leading up just to see, okay, what the hell is the plan? Because we know it's not going to work, but what was the game plan?
Yeah. We just need like CJ Stroud to be like a Hall of Famer, because then we'll get documentaries and stuff, and they'll bring in people and we'll see their sides of the story 50 or 60 years from now.
It's just going to be...
We need somebody that's involved with this to be amazing. That way, later it's talked about what happened.
Even just if things continue the way they are and the status quo is, say CJ doesn't improve any, he keeps playing this, the stable football that he's been playing, which is consistent. But just say he doesn't. Say Bryce doesn't improve either.
Well, so do you think like Bryce will
he's
be
a
like
huge
Justin
bust.
Herbert, where he's just kind of consistent, like his rookie year will be the same as his sophomore, same as his junior? Like it's going to be kind of like that, where it's just like,
do you know if he's going to go to post grad?
Huh? Oh, you're funny. Okay, sorry, his third year. It's just easier to say. Because again, I always talk about Justin Herbert, that I like to see that he's constant, because
Justin Herbert's a weird situation,
because his team's always injured. So the fact that he never this year he's got Keenan Allen.
Well, and I think it was a very interesting decision by Frank Wright to play Bryce Young.
Oh, you want
as
to
early as he did.
Sit
He was
back?
probably told to by ownership at this
It
point.
very well could have been, and that's where we don't know with how controlling the ownership seems to be here.
Apparently a lot.
But
'cause they don't take anything for granted, and they just fire their head coach.
But like Herbert wasn't intended to play that first year, so that's
Tyrod
where
got
third.
That's where Tyrod did not get hurt. He was stabbed.
He was assaulted.
Like honestly, Tyrod should consider a lawsuit.
He probably
I'm
did.
Sure, again, when you
He signed another contract.
You
He's fine.
Sign like a medical waiver.
But it's a bunch of BS, dude. Like, come on, he got stabbed in the chest with a needle, punctured lung. Herbert, day-to-day starter. It's the Lou Gehrig story all over again. God, I should know his
Tommy
name.
DeVito.
No, I mean no. We're finding a replacement for chicken cutlets, but oh my gosh, dude, I just
so you were looking things up when Mikey and I kind of talked about this. Do you think the ownership's going to do kind of what the Dolphins did with Tua and go find that head coach where it's like, hey, we really like Tua, or this case, we really like Bryce Young. You are not going to draft a different quarterback. You are going to create an offense, and you are going to make him work no matter what, or you're not even going to be in here for 5 minutes. And obviously, they have the track record to prove it, because they will just fire him before the season even ends.
and that's where it gets crazy difficult for me, because it's a puzzle, and there's different pieces that work with different pieces, but if you can complete it to make a picture, doesn't matter what the picture is going to be, but if you can make a picture and have it clear cut and say, hey, this is how we're going to make things work, I think that's what moves this forward.
That's what the ownership wants?
Is not even what ownership wants. I think that's the only way it works, is you can't put everything, and that's where I know we're differing, where you're looking at it as they're putting everything that's going wrong with Carolina on Frank Wright, and the head coach is viewed as looking at everything. And it is true, because the head coach typically does get the say of, okay, these are my assistants. This is the offensive coordinator. This is my defensive coordinator, and making those calls from there. Like, was it Tomlin's call to get rid of Canada?
But that's different.
But that's what I mean.
Steeler coaches have so much more pull, though.
Exactly, and that's where it's getting to the spot where it's saying, okay, these are your responsibilities. I'm delegating these tasks to you.
That was his Carmelo Anthony.
What was that?
That was your
Steelers
Carmelo
coach?
Anthony.
Well, I was just giving it. Honestly, I wasn't sure if Tomlin had been the one to make the call.
That's the only reason he was there for so long.
But it's your group, you know what I mean? And it's delegating the tasks to make sure everything's getting done to the point that you guys can come together on Sunday and win a football game. And I think that's what you're seeing Antonio Pierce do in L.A., if we're going to look at it from that way.
Raiders? Yeah.
Is I really think that
nothing's
changed.
Aren't they Vegas?
Yeah. I just
Raiders.
was still saying L.A. Vegas. They haven't changed anything. If anything, on paper, they've gotten worse at quarterback by Jimmy G's not hurt, right? He's just benched.
No, he's just a bench.
He's just never been good at football.
But they found a guy that can do what they need him to do, to go out there and compete on Sundays. And it was what he said when he was giving the pep talk that ultimately got Josh McDaniels fired, was the New York Giants when he played on them, when they were going in every week, he knew that they weren't the most talented at every position across the board, but they knew that they had a game plan coming in to stop
And it didn't matter if they were
whoever was coming to
undefeated
play.
or not.
Yeah, it didn't matter if it was the Patriots. They had a game plan that they were going to execute that was going to give them the chance to win a game.
All about execution. No
And
ifs, then, or
finding the
buts.
way to do that in any way, shape, or form is your job as a head coach, and delegating the tasks to the correct people. So I guess that's another way that you could look at it. But
It's
when
just
I'm
really
looking
hard.
at tangible things with the Frank Wright firing, it's the quarterback play, because I know that's what he's known for.
It's just really hard to try really hard when you know you're gonna lose, and I say that from experience. I know you in hockey you struggled.
Taught me
in
how to lose.
soccer, I
No.
won 2 games my entire
Yep,
soccer
that's why
career.
I quit soccer. Yeah,
It gets
ran
tough to
cross
try.
country because we won more in
And,
cross
and
country.
I think that's what Antonio Pierce was saying in that speech, was that belief
Yeah.
was not there in Las Vegas.
Mm.
We've
believe
seen them
it
get
now.
worse. They're playing way better football.
Yeah.
You can't tell me they're not. They hung around with was it the 49ers that they played most
I
recently?
believe so. Look it up.
Like, and I mean, they even when they played the Dolphins, it wasn't. Was that poster after the Josh McDaniels firing, or before or after? I think it was after. They played really good football since they've let him go, and I think it's finding all of the pieces that'll come together to make the right decisions to give you a chance to win every Sunday, and
Yeah,
that's what
don't-
gives you a chance to make the playoffs.
You were right. So I believe they beat the Jets, then they hung around with the Dolphins 13 to 20, but then they kind of they were up by 14 to the Chiefs, but then the Chiefs decided.
The Chiefs chiefed.
The Chiefs adjusted their game plan to the Raiders' game plan, and then it becomes a game of adjustments. And
And
Who do
Andy
you
Reid's
trust
gonna
more?
beat you.
A rookie head coach.
or Andy freaking Reid,
Yeah.
cheeseburger
I
man
was gonna
himself,
say the Mr. Cheeseburger.
dude.
Give me them nuggets.
How about you try explaining that with them nuggets? That's just such a good commercial. You want to wrap us?
Yeah, I was just about to say
So-
that.
I feel like that's a good spot.
Thanks for joining us for this extended version of Talkin Athletics with MTJ. That's Joe. That's Tom. I'm your host, Mike Papa. Thanks for joining us. As always, we absolutely love getting down here and talking about sports. And guess what? Well, Joe?
Just wanted some extra time because we were off last week. That's
Yeah,
why we had an
that's right.
extended episode for you.
You got
guys.
the double shot of espresso today, and we hope you enjoyed it. We hope it energizes you for the rest of your day and for this upcoming weekend in not only football, college, NFL. There's game basketball even
NBA,
still going
yeah.
on.
sports.
We didn't get to talk about NBA today because we had a lengthy conversation about football, but
And honestly, our NBA list was way longer.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, that's how she goes. But thanks for coming.
Yeah,
we had a
sneak peek
pleasure.
for next episode.
We'll see you next time on Talking Athletics with MTJ. Boom. Bye.